Session. It is 6:13 p.m. First item on the agenda is pledge of allegiance. Chief, you want to lead us?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the non-public and public meeting minutes from February 1st, 2024.
So,
Second. Move.
Sean
We
seconded.
said second.
Oh,
I beat him.
moved by Rob and seconded by Scott. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing no comments. All in favor of approving the non-public and public minutes of February 1st? Sean?
aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Carol? Aye. That's 4-0.
I would like to make a motion to seal the non-public meeting minutes from February 15th, 2024, as they may adversely affect the reputation of any person other than a member of this board.
I'll second.
Motion to seal the non-public minutes. Indefinitely, you said that? Indefinitely made by Rob, seconded by Scott. All in favor? Any discussion on that? Nope. All in favor? Sean?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And Carol? Aye. That's 4-0. Moving on to the agenda, we have the consent agenda. I don't know if you agreed which one of you was going to read that.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda, accounts payable manifest dated 2/8/24, accounts payable manifest dated 2/15/24, payroll manifest dated 2/15/24, certificate of yield taxes and timber wax or tax warrants for report number 23-059-01T in the amount of $1,061.54.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to accept the consent agenda. Are there any items anyone would like to speak to specifically? Hearing none, we will vote on the consent agenda. All in favor? Sean?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And Carol? Aye. Consent agenda is approved. All right. Next item on the agenda is the New Hampshire DES waiver and requirement updates.
Jeff is not here, so I have some updates. This is the response actually in your folders. I think it's TA number 4. No, sorry, number 3. It's not TA. Number 3 SB Bristol waiver request in your folders. So we submitted the waiver request regarding the certification requirements for the wastewater.
All right.
The response is they denied us. That's in your packets, also up on the screen for anybody who wants to take a look at it. Jeff and I have been talking. We do not believe that they are going to be issuing the letter of deficiency that they previously mentioned they were going to. And Jeff said Joel will continue to cover for now. Ethan is going to pursue his certification, and Jeff will be advertising for a certified wastewater employee. And he believes it'll fall under the support tech job description. So that is still an open position in his budget, and he had held off advertising until we kind of figured out where we were at with this. So he's going to pursue getting the advertising moving forward for that. And we are having a little difficulty with them right now. On top of it, we had these things that we had to fill out what's called a representation on their website. You have to go in and create an account. You have to say who's responsible, who's the owner. So we started with Jeff doing it because he's just always done these things, and they said, no, you can't be the owner and the representative. So I created an account today because today it was due. I created an account, I became the owner, Jeff was the representative, and you have Joel and Jesse with licenses, and now they've come back with something else saying we can't do it. And Jeff and I are extremely frustrated because we were like, just tell us from day one what you want us to say, don't keep coming back to us and telling us we did it wrong.
I hate that.
So we're gonna try to fix it tomorrow, but, that's where we're at with that, but, so it still is an issue, we're still working on it, but we've got a plan in place, hopefully, to move forward with it.
Okay, is that plan then not what Jeff wanted to do? It's different from what he was hoping to do?
Yeah, it is a little different, than what he was hoping to do, and we're gonna have to continue to pay 2 people to be here
Yeah,
on the weekends for station checks
Yeah.
until we can get it resolved, so.
that's craziness, but that's okay.
So I just wanted to give you that update, let you know that we were denied and that, we may have some more information as we go forward, but.
Okay. Any comments, anyone? Okay. Next is public safety building updates.
So,
Excuse me, Chief, is that what Chief's here for?
Chief's here for a bunch of things. so
Okay, I
do
was
that.
gonna try not to make you sit too long if you didn't have to.
In your folders, there's we can start with the change orders. The first one is SB1. Let me get it on screen share. There are 3 change orders it's number 4, SB1. There are 3 change orders in that batch. Sorry, hang on just a second. Do you need them?
I have them, I just.
And I will actually turn it over to Ben if you're okay with that and let him explain them.
I don't see it number 4.
It's 4 SB1.
Yeah, oh, that 4.
Yeah.
Oh, four.
04.
That's what I'm
SB1.
looking at. I thought, I was looking at 3 items, I thought you meant 4 items. Oh.
Thank
that's
you for coming,
the
'cause I
first
thought I was
one.
going to have to explain this.
You're welcome. I'm here for you. Yeah, so this is the list that I submitted. I guess I can just buzz through them. There's 3 change orders that are pending through Gruen right now, and they're for a couple of various things. So the first one, change order number 9, is relative to relocating a door. It had been that way in the plan, it was put in as in plan, but when we got into the building and started looking at it, the police chief was concerned that the location of the door, which was just studs and some cabling for the access controls, put it in a position where anybody in the interview room couldn't freely leave, which is a requirement of having you could have 2 interview rooms, one behind the booking door and one in front of the booking door. But if you only have one, they've got to, if they're not being detained and questioned, whatever, I get my cop knowledge off of TV shows, but you get where I'm going, that legally they have to be able to freely leave the area. It would put them on the other side of 2, 3 controlled doors, so it needed to be moved legally.
Oh.
So it basically just moved it down 10 feet or whatever down that hallway, which is fine because it probably closes off the booking room a little better. It doesn't create like a blind corner. Nothing else had to be moved as far as a light that was in the way or any heat stuff. And that totaled $692. So that's change order number 9. Change order number 10 is relative to wireless access point cabling. One of the things that I have no knowledge of is how computers work. So as kind of the electrician's portion of work in cabling was finishing up or reaching toward the end, and Chris Carter, who obviously is far more knowledgeable with technical stuff in the computer company, went in and they said, listen, based on the size of the building, the construction of the building, you're gonna have to have a bunch of the access points like around the ceiling, throughout the building to ensure coverage. There's obviously 2 different networks in there, so there's some redundancy in that. Basically what it equated to was, even though maybe all of them won't be built out right away, was 17 additional runs up in the ceiling, which then provide better coverage, as opposed to just running them out of the walls, which is what I thought we would do. So that work is $4,422. That's change order number 10. Change order number 11
We had throughout the process, early in the process, had various locations for what would be the server room and the radio room, and ultimately landed on building the 2 small rooms up in that HVAC section on the 2nd floor, which will serve both for internet, server storage, as well as kind of the head end for the radio equipment for the 2 departments. What we didn't really figure on is just how much electricity was needed in that area. So Gruen basically had it in their budget to supply an outlet in each room, because in a little 8x8 room, that seems like more than enough. But when we looked at, what's required for the backup, there's a battery backup on the PD server that runs off it's low amperage, but it's high voltage. It's a 240 battery backup, so you've got to have a 240 line in there with kind of like a camper style plug-in, and then you really needed 2 4-outlet boxes in each room to support the equipment that's in there. So that was a lot of stuff that you couldn't, it wasn't just adding an outlet and running one off of the other. It was totally new circuits that need to be pulled up in there. So that's kind of a big one at $7,506.47, but super necessary. It's just something that I don't think anybody really thought. I certainly didn't. I've never been in the server rooms. We kind of, brought Chris in a little bit later, and as we figured out what was going into that room at the end of the day, that's definitely something that's needed. So those are those 3 change orders.
You would think I would think that Gruen would have known that. Like they've never done a building with a server room.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I'm just throwing that out there for conversation.
Well, I just have a question about they might not have done one with a PD server, which is a little bit more, there's a lot more in a police department
okay.
server.
Yeah, certainly that backup seemed to catch them off guard,
Yeah.
but the idea that there should have been a few more outlets in that room, maybe. I know the server setup is slightly smaller in Farmington, but you've got the fiber coming in that requires its own energy source and certain backbone. Their servers are a little bit different, and then that backup on it is a big one. So,
And we have to keep, we're looking at network redesign, not necessarily just for the public safety building, but for the town because of the way the fiber is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And PD has to stay on a separate level, even though fire can kind of come in, they'll be in their own group, but they will be in with the whole town group, so.
Well, they needs to be done. They all need to be done from the sounds of it, so.
Like I told Ben, just make sure you take a note of it for the next public safety building build.
I'm sure there are some people in town that would remember that. They come that time.
grandchildren build.
Where does this money come from?
The interest.
Yep.
Make a motion to approve PDF number 4739. Oh no, I'm sorry. The change orders number
9, 10, 11.
9, 10, 11.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to accept change orders 9, 10, and 11. Any further discussion? None heard. We'll vote on that. All in favor? Sean?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Carol? Aye. That was 4-0.
Do you want to, the last 2? I have them in 2 separate things, but,
Oh, yeah, well, one was just a copy of the PO.
oh yeah, okay. So we don't need, I'll leave it for now, but, there is one more change order. It's a little different than a regular change order, and I'll let Ben explain that.
Where was that you clicked on?
It is number 4, hang on.
4 and 5.
4 and 5, but if 5 is just the PO that he's filled out, so you could look at number 4. 4
In the same
SB4.
document?
Yeah, it's still under number 4 and
Oh.
it's SB4.
Get it.
So it's, it says on it, request for approval of security system. There's a copy of the minutes that we talked about this originally from December 21st also in that packet, but there's no official vote, so take it away, Ben.
Yeah, so this would just hopefully to get that contract approved. Again, we talked about it a little bit as far as some of the use of that interest money. A lot of the use is $57,000. But this is the contract and basically the two quotes around the door access control system and the security camera system. Again, in that phase 1, it's going to provide us really good coverage, really good access, and phase 2 will really be down the road, adding a camera here and there, but the backbone system's big enough to support it, and probably putting some of the doors that'll be keyed temporarily onto fobbed access or punch code access. So this is that company, Allcom. Again, just as a refresher, we've reached out to a number of companies. Some companies did give us kind of ballpark figures that were well in excess of this. For the most part, Allcom is really the only company that would work with us in that phased approach of, hey, we're gonna have to eat this a little bit at a time. But ultimately, and we had another pared down version of this, but ultimately this gets us into the building and pretty functional day 1. We're roughly 4 something months away from occupancy, so the hope would be to get this in place and get them to start working on that work now so that it's complete when we move in.
So this will include some keypads, I imagine.
Yeah, quite a few of them.
There's more info underneath.
This is the conversation we already had, though.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a purchase order, it's different than a change order. But if you agree with that, you would just vote on the purchase order.
I just feel like fobs would be like an ongoing expense.
Yeah.
You know, new employees getting lost.
If I remember the conversation correctly, it will basically be like a dual system where there's kind of both capabilities of, you know, you get your assigned number,
Yeah,
there's a
like
generic
private
assigned
hospitals.
number, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, same setup.
And this was already part of the, like, $96,000, that conversation, correct?
In December, yes,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
talked
So
about
it's not like
filling this
we're
for the
adding-
interest.
We're not looking to pull more interest, it's part of that, we're just making it official.
Correct.
And there won't be any additional costs as far as like a locksmith is concerned or anything? Is that all covered?
No.
Okay. So to be clear for the record, we've had this discussion back in December and approved the process, and now we're coming down to approve the payment. So we would entertain a motion for said payment.
I will make a motion to approve purchase order number 47.
Okay, no, you don't have to
In the
sign.
amount of $57,248.20.
And approve the TA,
What's that?
approve the TA to sign.
And to approve the town administrator to sign for said purchase order.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion made and seconded for purchase order 4739. Motion made by Rob, seconded by Scott. All in favor? Sean?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Carol? Aye. That would be 4-0.
Do you want to talk about
Thank
this
you.
a little?
Yeah, I can.
Let me just fix it so Sean can. So we just wanted to have a brief conversation to give you some updates on what the screen would let me fix it. To give you some updates on where, what our thoughts are, what kind of change orders might be coming before you in the future. The first,
Make that a tiny bit bigger for me.
yep, it's also in your folders too.
Oh,
Yeah.
5, SB 5.
Three.
I'm sorry, 3.
Is it 3? It's 04 SB3. So, the first 3, I'll let you after I say this, Ben. The first 3 are already approved. The doors, the camera, the booking door, the Wi-Fi access. Those are the ones you just approved.
04 SB3?
No, it's not.
No, that's minutes.
2, sorry.
Thank you.
I
Oh,
can't see because
I
it's
could
not-
read the title
Projects.
of I could read the title of the paper, that would probably help.
So, the first item you would start with would be I'll let Ben take over, but where the radio and antennas are below. The rest of the items we've already approved and we've already discussed either earlier or past meetings, so.
Yeah, this is just to give a snapshot of where we're at as far as the use of the interest funds, and 2, those projects that still remain, unfunded from the cut numbers. So, like Christina said, basically down to server room wiring now. We've approved, both the committee recommended and the select board has approved. The next 2 items, the radio and antenna project and the lockers, have been recommended by the public safety building committee. I just haven't brought them to you yet. Some of it's ironing out the details, some of it is just really solidifying that interest number. And the other portion of it, especially when it comes to radios and antennas, this is a bit of an add scope-wise, especially on Gruen's end, and there needs to be a conversation with how well they're gonna allow us to work with them and have that happen. It's certainly something that can happen, after occupancy in the building if need be. That's how the quote's built up, is if they're pulling antenna cable through finished space and whatnot, but we'll certainly we can discuss that more when I bring it forward. The lockers, that is higher. If you're looking at the cut list had about $9,200 for lockers. Those lockers were gonna be like 1 foot by 1 foot school lockers that just would be a complete waste of money. There's no way to fit uniforms in them or anything. So that price, again, we can talk about it more, but it's Concord Fire recently redid their lockers. They used this company. I got in touch with them. That funds all 48 lockers between the men's and the women's locker room at full 24 by 24 lockers for significantly less expensive than I was able to find anywhere else. It was, $30,000-$40,000 plus type adventure to go that way. So that number can still be trimmed down a little bit if needed. It would just get us to exactly how the plan's designed. And then the last 3 haven't really come before the committee yet. Those are really those last 3 items. Appliances and signage, and then some type of a PA system to really ensure that everybody can hear what's going on within the station. That number's a little bit high, so we'll figure it out before we reach the end. But those are kind of what's left. I really feel pretty decent about appliances as far as donations go, and even to some degree, I think down the road grant-wise for some type of amplification system in the building, we can probably tie that into some grant funding as well. So that's just a snapshot of where we're at. Obviously now with the 3 change orders approved and the security system, it's about $112,000 out of those interest funds that we've allocated. And we'd be just shy of $150,000 if we were to move forward with the other 2 projects that the committee's recommended. So just here's where we're at.
Okay.
And
What did Gruen not understand about radios and antennas that installing?
Well, it was never really in the scope,
Okay.
and quite honestly, I think I envision those getting installed a little bit in a different way, that opportunity doesn't exist anymore. So.
Okay.
And we do not have an exact interest number yet. We have fine-tuned it. Between the treasurer and the finance office, I believe we are closer to that. We don't have a full answer yet on one of our questions on interest. I can't elaborate more than that currently, but, so I hope to have a better number for you before the next change orders come in.
Okay. How much of this is project creep? And the only reason I ask that is because the question came up at town meeting last year.
How much is what?
It's project creep, or whatever you want to call it. When someone had a legitimate question that said, are you gonna come back to us for a whole bunch of other things after we approve this 4.8 million? And
But we're not coming back to them to ask them for more money. We're using the interest money off of the bond for it.
Yep.
So we're not impacting we're not impacting tax rates.
Yeah.
So,
okay. And then,
do you have anything to add to that, Ben?
No, I would argue really none of it. I mean, even though the radios and the PA system weren't in the initial project, they are certainly part of the operation of that building.
oh, sure, no question.
And there's lots of other stuff that I could creep in. I think we're definitely trying to keep it in line with what the original stuff was, and the rest of it's really just support what the building's doing, and like ledge removal, the panel lighting, and that'll save us money at the end of the day. So there's nothing really that is outside of what a public safety building should be, and the majority of it outside of those two items were initial factors and that were cut or reduced in some way.
I agree 100%. I just thought it was worth saying it
Right.
for the record for people that might watch this.
And we did make sure that we booked the ARPA funds that we agreed to book for those other items that we added back in as well. The bump out and the upper parking. So we've been able to correct all of these things in the past 30 to 45 days. It's been very busy, but we've taken care of correcting them. We've booked the radiant flooring correctly to the warrant articles and to the ARPA funding that we've gotten from there. So we're feeling really good about where we're at.
Okay. How's the Homeland Security grants? Is that long gone from home? Are they long gone? Or they still exist?
No, they still exist. There's really nothing. Again, some of the PA project, potentially some of the radio project.
I'm thinking for your incident command room, you could.
But it's only portions, right? So when the last time I talked to Homeland Security, it was, we could probably cover the camera and associated work is like for the security system, but you really couldn't cover the rest of it.
Yeah.
So to put any delay on that doesn't make any sense for me right now, whereas we could probably fund some of these other items that can wait a little bit longer.
Thank you.
Have we set a tentative date for the next walkthrough?
That's next on your. Are we done on change orders, purchase orders, Ben?
I think so.
Anything else? We good on the change orders? Sean, anything else on the change orders? Are you good? It's good.
So the next thing on under public safety building updates is the site visit for the select board. What I'm gonna ask the board if they're okay with is I'd like to invite the department heads also to it. They haven't been. But a tentative date is March 7th, which is your next select board meeting at 4 p.m.
Thursdays are house, you can do it without me. They're house session days, so they don't tell us that far ahead. I know we've got one, whether we're gonna have one on the 7th or not. I won't know quite yet. But go ahead, if you wanna schedule it, go ahead, and if I can make it, I will.
Would you want to do a Wednesday?
No, just go ahead and schedule it for that. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is just bad right now, so. I'll get a personal tour of myself.
That's right. So
We can do camera and maybe,
well, I was gonna say if Kate can make it, Kate can take some pictures as well.
or do a video and then can you do pictures from the video?
Good, yeah.
That's all good. You just go ahead and schedule it. It's just crazy right now, that week, so.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I think part of that date, just so up until I went there today, it was a nightmare, and that
Yeah.
not a nightmare in a bad way, right?
Yeah.
But they were finishing all the plumbing runs and electrical and HVAC stuff, and it was a lot of stuff going on. Whereas today's visit, a lot of that's getting wrapped up, and a lot more of the sheetrock's going up. So I think in another 2-ish weeks, it's going to really have some form to it to really understand what's going on and be a little bit safer to walk around in there. Plus, instead of moving it out, say another meeting, right, because you're going to start getting into flooring and painting and whatnot, that will be a lot easier to kind of right in between all that.
Well, we wanted to do it before town meeting also, so.
right,
Yeah, there's that too, so.
good on the site visit.
So when do we have one more meeting before town?
I'll get a hold of you, Chief, maybe when I can go over.
Yep.
On a Monday or Friday.
Grand opening ceremony. So we took, I went back to the Public Safety Building Committee and we had a conversation at the last meeting. And so we've met in the halfway point. Some board members wanted to be in August. This Public Safety Building Committee was looking, I think it was July 10th. So we're proposing July 31st. It's a Wednesday.
I'll be in Canada, but that's all right, go ahead. Vacation.
Hey.
What, when again?
Vacate.
July 31st.
I won't be here. I'll be on
Well, that's right,
vacation.
yeah.
Okay.
We already discussed this.
I was like, wait, you were there.
Yeah.
If that's good, for people for July 31st, of course we want Sean to be there.
Is there a time like near there? Like,
We're gonna be gone for about 30 days, so
yeah, but are you leaving the day before that or?
we're leaving somewhere around the 13th of July. It's not solid yet. We'll be gone till the middle of August, so go ahead.
Or if we just do the proposed July 10th? I'd like everybody to be there.
Okay, I mean, I won't be there, but that's okay, you don't need me there.
So that's the busiest vacation week of the year.
Okay, yeah.
Uh,
Oh, it's right, that's, well, I haven't.
And my thought was to at least have a little bit of a chance to get in the building and settle before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fireworks too, oh, yeah.
No, it's fine. It's what it is. If I'm not there, it's okay.
I have a list of stuff that I'm gonna bring back, to the Public Safety Building Committee, that I told them that I had a list from our previous discussion. So we'll have more information, also at your next meeting about the ceremony. Yeah, we meet before then, right? Yeah, so we'll have a little bit more information about ceremony, things we might have to get from you question-wise at your next meeting, so. So July 31st.
Better put it in the calendar.
The only thing I had was other general updates, but I think Ben kind of already gave you an idea where the public safety building was at, unless you have something more to add.
Did we have another date, like tentatively scheduled for?
July 10th. Oh,
That July 10th was the,
is it a Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That was the tentative schedule.
okay, so I'm, right.
So July 31st is the new one.
Planning board meeting. You're planning board on July 10th anyways.
Oh, you won't have it on the 31st?
No, correct. I guess I never had it in the first time.
All right, well, there's no other general updates to share. Ben kind of already told you where the building was at, unless you have something more specific that you wanted to ask about the public safety building.
What time were we gonna do the openings? Did you set a time?
Well, I have to bring that back to the committee, but the notes that I had from before was 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Yeah, that was what you had said.
And that we would continue the open house into the evening. I don't have those hours yet, there's a question mark here. And I have a list of names from the previous discussion, so. And so we just have to, we'll go back and talk to them again, and then March 7th I'll confirm.
Okay.
Anything?
You all set, chief?
I think so.
He's gonna run. I
Thank
just
you.
need the pink copy.
Yeah, so we have Wednesday, the open house, and then we have a meeting the following day.
You want me to take it? Oh, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
August 1st.
So yeah, I'm gonna miss a couple meetings, like I did, well, last summer was the same thing, I did the same thing last summer.
Sorry.
Try to zoom in.
Thank you.
I did, actually, I did zoom in with some success.
When are you gonna be gone
One
again?
campground had like crappy reception.
When are you gonna be gone again?
Well, let's just say the 13th,
July?
July, and probably through the 17th of August, maybe later, I don't know, we're still making phone calls, so.
Okay, that just gives me a rough idea of plan ahead. Okay.
Right, so I'll miss the 18th of July, the 1st and the 15th of August, 3 meetings. Same thing I did last summer.
Okay.
Okay, that's the public safety building updates. Oh, let me sit up here. Next item on the agenda is executive office, finance officer job description and human resource officer job description.
So there are 3 job descriptions under 05. Whoops, sorry, I don't want to block comment. So, what I did with these is, I can talk about the finance office first. Since we originally approved the finance HR office, another position has come open, and I wanted to, and I think I've gotten a general consensus, but unfortunately not from everyone. So I'm putting, my proposal is to switch the jobs out now that we have 2 positions. And to make one the finance officer, and the other would be the human resources officer / finance assistant. So I've prepared 2 job descriptions there, and the only reason I put the executive assistant in there is so you could see what I've shuffled around a little for the job roles.
Okay. Which one do you want to look at first?
So if we look at the finance officer first, there's an edit and there's a clean version.
Okay,
So if you look at the edits, you can see, which is a Word document. Am I opening the right one? Yeah, so you can see I took HR out, I took the words responsible for coordinating and administrating HR. If you roll down, and I took out anything related under personnel, that paragraph, that whole group.
yep,
Under risk management, I took the first bullet out, but I left the second because that's more related to finance. Under other functions, I took the first bullet out because it was workers' compensation, that's really HR, and left the rest. And then under general, I took out, although I guess I could leave that in.
I was gonna say, I would leave that.
Yeah, I can leave that in,
Yeah.
so, that person would be responsible still for maintaining confidentiality, so I can put that back in. But I want, I'm like, is that your phone or is that really here outside?
It's yeah, they have fire in Franklin.
So if I can put that bullet back in, and then if you roll down, I did not change anything under the rest. The rest was those, that was what you already looked at previously when it was both positions. And that's that canned stuff from our former
Yep.
NHMA,
yep,
for lack of a better word. And then, if you'd approved it, then I had to put the new signature page on, but I do have to put that other bullet back in. So that takes you through the finance. If you wanna take a look at the,
Under the HR one,
that's the one, yep,
yeah.
the edits there,
Yeah, you crossed out accounts receivable functions, including invoicing as needed. where they're a finance assistant, isn't that still?
So I did take that out, but I can put it back in. Some of this, so one of the changes I've recently made, because I needed to get them covered, is I've rolled some of the invoicing that office was doing out to the departments, because they, like, the highway department should be, they have an admin, I felt they should be doing their own hauler billing. So we moved that out already, but I don't know what it leaves for invoicing, but I can put that back in.
Yeah, it's
Where
a
you-
lot easier to leave it in there than to add it back.
Then add it back in, yeah.
It's kind of same thing with the next one too, just,
Whoops, let me roll down.
Where are you, Rob?
so under the edited
Oh, I see it,
version.
I got it,
yeah.
I got it, thank you.
Under other, right? It's
Yeah.
so put the both bullets back in?
I think so, that
Yep.
manages makes recommendations, yeah, that one, the one underneath it. Yeah. I don't see any harm in leaving them in, just change it to finance director rather than finance/human resources director.
And like under the administrative, so you'll see under the administrative functions, so let me go back up. No other, I added the stuff that I took out of the finance officer into this one.
Yep,
And then I'll add those two bullets back in, and then if you look under administrative functions, I took the town report out, that's under the executive assistant now.
okay,
I took the annual town meeting out, that's under the executive assistant. I took out holiday party and keys, and that goes under the executive assistant now. Select board support, I took out preparing materials, because that's myself and the executive assistant. I left weekly manifest, because this person would do, so even though in most of the billing, we're gonna have the capability to, every admin from departments are gonna be able to enter their own billing now, and the department head would
Yeah.
approve through a system. We'll be able to pull in all of their stuff and do a manifest much quicker than we are now.
nice.
It's gonna be very, so we haven't got to roll it out yet, but that's where we're going. And then I left wellness coordinator, because that really is an HR
Yep.
function. I did take out purchasing agent, that's under Deb, well, executive assistant. And I didn't know what this, I don't know what this implied, the coordinates various vendors. I didn't think, I didn't leave that in anyone's, because I don't think there's really coordination of vendors there for this work.
Where's that?
Under other duties,
Or am I going too fast?
other duties, the second bullet I crossed out. I didn't put that back in anyone's. I figured that
Oh, jeez, I was looking right at it.
if we have anybody they have to meet with, there's the caveat of any other duties as
Got it.
assigned.
Yep,
Oops, I gotta fix that, sorry. That's, oh no, I just have to take out human resources director
Yep.
in that one, so. And then if you did wanna look at the executive assistant, just to see, I'm not asking you to approve that one yet, but to see what went into the what I took out of that one and what went into it. I took out the executive assistant description was for both positions, unfortunately, and so this cleans it up. This becomes the executive assistant, takes out any of the financial duties, the HR duties, but leaves the town report in. I did take out, I left in the other one, conducts all aspects of nonprofit funding requests. That made sense to stay with the funding off of the finance
Yep.
assistant. But everything else, and the only thing I added under the executive was coordination of meeting minutes for select board meetings, preparing non-public minutes, and overseeing the preparation of public minutes with the minute taker. So I can make all those changes. I just want to, if you agree to the setup, and then I can get an advertisement out. I'd like to get it out ASAP, if you agree. The only thing, we did shuffle the grades, that I didn't touch base, sorry on that. Those grades are based on the new, so I would have to readjust those grades that are in the description if something changes and we can't do the new. But the finance officer grade is accurate, that's where it is now. And then the HR one, the proposal for the current position it was supposed to be on grade 10, and we moved it up to grade 12. Similar amount, so it'll still fall within the budget. But we felt that more duties, more HR with more responsibility, that should be at a grade 12, not a grade 10. Are you looking for a wage scale?
I am.
It's
No.
not in there.
No. Well, that was in the back of my mind, but I'm looking for the executive department.
Oh, it should be one of the first ones
Well,
in
I
your
would
book.
have thought that, but. We're just
I don't
contacts.
have my book with me.
Aha.
Oh, why would we have taken it out?
I don't know.
Is it in yours?
Maybe they're updating it.
Well, no, we shouldn't have pulled them out. Because I thought to talk to you tonight too.
You got it?
Why is that in there?
This page right here should be like the third page. Should be
Somebody
executive
must have
department.
handed
I
that.
have a flow chart. Emergency contact? No.
After that, it should be.
Yeah, the executive officer. Here you
Yeah,
go.
did you take yours out?
He brought it home and I had to
Hard
read over it.
Hard to tell what I want to know.
All right, so, do you have any questions about the thoughts for those positions?
Well, you knew, but this lines up with where I thought we should be as far as not having finance and HR,
Having it separate.
yeah, as having it separate. So I'm happy with the way that turned out, and I like what you've done with the rewrites. And the only question I would have is for us to talk to people and for people listening, is this adding people to the
No.
list of employees? 'Cause that's what people are gonna ask.
No, so currently we have an open, finance office position.
Yeah.
If that is a full-time position and that is open, it was finance/HR.
Yep.
We also currently have a executive assistant for HR and finance, which is a full-time position also. That person is leaving, so we have to fill those two positions. So it's breaking them out, we're not adding any staff, we're filling those two positions, but we're breaking them out to finance and HR separate with finance assistant. And then the executive assistant exists, it's a part-time position. And that person is mine and the select board's executive assistant.
Thank you.
Good call. Good explanation.
Good work. I like it. I like it a lot.
So are you okay with me beginning advertising?
Let me double check with the actual chairman. What do you got, Sean?
Yeah, we had discussed this this week before the meeting, and I felt that, given the way things have transpired, that it was the proper way to go, and I would support that.
Perfect. Okay.
Alright, so I'll get the, I don't think I've scheduled each department to come back before the board with job descriptions. You have 3 departments in April, 3 departments in May, 3 departments in June. You won't see them in there yet, but, so I will probably bring the 2 job descriptions we'll be hiring back to you at your next meeting, but I'll go ahead with them, just so I can get the advertisement
Yeah.
done, and then I'll just have you sign them at your next meeting.
Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda is the final warrant article vote.
So I need to explain, you have 2 versions. There are a couple things, the first thing you have to do is decide, we have a petition warrant article, and there are 2 different versions because you have to decide placement of the warrant article. My recommendation And that's just my recommendation is that you put the petition warrant article at the beginning of the meeting. And there's a couple reasons I'm recommending that, because people wait, we lose a lot of people at the end of the meeting. And the people that stay are the people that are voting on the warrant article. And I think it is better and more of an informed, better discussion at the beginning. Also, was the concern that they may want to try to cut the budget, that line, if this passes. And so, if this did pass, then you could have a discussion about whether that recommended line would be cut or not in the budget.
Explain that, sorry, you lost me.
So the petition warrant article, which we should probably read that into record for the public as well,
Yes.
is to eliminate the counting machine and to put us back to hand counting.
Yeah.
So my only recommendation, two parts, is that I feel that you're gonna have a better discussion and a larger group of people for that discussion, making the decision at the beginning of the meeting.
I got all that part, but you
The
said.
second part is that during the budget committee hearing, it was discussed that they may want to, if this passed, they may want to cut the line for the $6,000 for the new voting machine. And it was explained, do you remember that part, Shauna, about they could reopen the budget at the end of the meeting? And I didn't know if the board would like to see that happen, or just have the discussion first, get it done. If it passes,
Yes.
then you can have the discussion when we discuss the budget article next.
Makes sense.
And then restrict reconsideration on both items.
Correct. So if you agree to putting it at the beginning, then you would just open up the one that says petition at the beginning?
Yes. I don't wanna go down that road with
That's fine.
saving it for the end and then reopening, and then by that point, then who knows what could happen, so.
So, all right, so if we put it at the beginning, you do have to vote on it, so, sorry, I gotta wait for this to move again.
I know that the warrant article is written and it is unchangeable. We should be prepared. I'm sure that whoever put this forward hopefully will be prepared to properly talk. We don't have a voting machine. I don't know, an RSA 65640, I don't know if the electronic devices are authorized in 65640. We have a counting machine, we don't have a voting machine. You don't go in the booth and vote, that's a true voting machine.
So a couple of comments I will also add. I did run this by the town's attorney, because we had to have it ready for the public hearing at the budget committee just in case. She did say that the petition warrant article is legally binding if it passes, and if the select board can recommend or not, whichever they choose. It doesn't require placement on the ballot or a specific number of votes. It would become effective if passed for the remaining 2 elections after town meeting. So it becomes effective immediately. We can't change the wording, but you are correct that it implies that there's a voting machine. I do know that when the person who dropped this off came in, there was a discussion that they thought there was $13,000 in the budget every year for the counting machine. And we did explain that that's not, the 6,000 is for the new machine, but we've only spent for the last, I don't know how many years, $400 in maintenance, if that, every year. There's an election line that's $6,400, but that is election equipment line, but that is for if we have to get a booth, if we have to get our ballots, it includes all of that supplies. So I just wanted to relay that as well. So.
Okay, 65640, the mayor and aldermen of any city or the selectmen of any town, blah, 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 may authorize the use of one or more electronic ballot counting devices, so that counts, so that includes what we're talking about. Okay, so electronic, what it says in that warrant article, electronic devices under 65640 includes our counting device.
Nay.
So do you want to, you should read it into record though.
We don't have to make a motion though.
Yes.
Okay, so I make a motion to not recommend Article 9 by petition. Shall the following provisions pertaining to elections be adopted? All voting shall be by paper ballot, and ballots shall be hand counted only rather than by use of optical scanning or any other types of programmable electronic counting devices. This shall constitute a return to hand counting ballots, an immediate discontinuance of all electronic voting machines and electronic devices authorized for use by trial in RSA 656:40. Shall this article be passed, it shall be enacted by the town of Bristol immediately. Majority vote required.
Question
Oh,
on the motion. Do we want to make it, we don't motion to do not recommend, we motion to recommend and then bail it, correct?
Yeah, so we really shouldn't be making a motion, a negative motion. So it should be a motion and second to recommend, and then the votes can be, all negative, and that's.
Okay, I vote to move Article 9. How's that?
Yep.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Rob and seconded by Scott to move the proposed,
Recommend.
petition warrant Article 9. Petition warrant article regarding voting, which will be Article 9 in the ballot. Any further discussion?
As far as the voting goes, I mean, just for note's sake, the machine does count it. It's pre-printed ahead of time. It's made sure it's zeroed out. Then the voting takes place, they insert the ballot, the machine counts, and then after, the machine's emptied out at the end of the day, and the selectmen verify those votes. So, and as of this year, we did not have any discrepancies during the presidential primary.
Just for the record, we don't verify the votes, we verify the ballots.
Verify the ballots, correct.
Right. So I have had a couple of people speak to me about this. And one of my comments was, well, counting devices like this have been being used since I was in high school taking the SATs, for heaven's sakes. That's basically the same thing, it's just you fill in a hole and it's counting it. And one of the other people said, well, do you actually hand tabulate all the ballots afterwards? And I said, no, because that would kind of defeat the purpose of having a counting machine. But I'm just bringing forth what people have said so that we can just have a full discussion on this. I would not be in favor of voting machines because of all the controversy around them in the past few years, but counting machine I have no problem with. It was also said to me that, well, even the counting machines can be, the software can be manipulated, which it probably can. Maybe it can't, I don't know, but I'm just bringing to you what people said to me. I'm in favor of the counting machine, and I'm gonna catch some flack from some people for saying so. Any
I think in our circumstances, with the turnout we get, it's a good point, I guess, in my eyes.
Even if this was done just to save the money for a voting machine, I don't,
Well,
I think there's
sorry.
some other,
In the public hearing, this person did say that this was not politically motivated, so I will add that in the public hearing of the budget committee. This person said it was not politically motivated, they just felt that there was there's better things suited for our money. Is that part of it, Sean?
Yeah, sure.
And I take it none of us have ever been involved in a hand count because that machine's been around for a long time. So just to, I don't know, let's throw out a guess. Sean, you've done this more times than anybody at the polls. How many more hours of us all being there, how many people would we be paying to hand count finish it up that night? I know you don't know. but
I don't know. All I can say is I have talked with other towns, smaller towns, that still do hand counting. And a lot of times they're there well past midnight,
Yeah.
counting much less ballots than we have. I would say, you'd be looking at a couple more people for several more hours, and at the end of the day, you might save a little bit of money. But we have no reason, as you mentioned, these machines, I want to say it's going on 20 years in Bristol. Certainly 15, I know that, but I think it's closer to 20. And they're not connected to the internet, as Scott mentioned, they're zeroed out at the beginning. The Republican ballots are counted, the Democrat ballots are counted, so we know that those numbers match. As people come in and give their ID and their intent to vote, we know that those numbers match at the end of the night. So there's very little room for any shenanigans with the counting machine at our level with the amount that the votes that we have.
Yeah. And I would add to that, it's very accurate at kicking out any ballots that seem to have a problem. It kicks them
Correct.
off into a little bin on the side, and they have to be looked at, each one of them. And I didn't see anything that was perfect as far as I could see at the primary. Anything that was questionable got kicked off to the side for us to look at. So
Yeah.
we ought to be prepared to have this same conversation at town meeting, probably.
And just so you're aware that Rayma will not be at town meeting. Cheryl will be there, but Rayma's prepared a document for Cheryl to read.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so any more discussion? We have a motion on the floor. Hearing none, we will, all in favor of recommending this petition warrant article for the warrant? That's where, are we voting on, let's go there. That was what the motion was. Sean?
Nay.
So, we're voting on whether we're approving it at this point?
Right.
Yes?
Yes,
Well, no,
correct.
you're voting on whether you
Are we
recommend.
recommending this? Okay, let me restate that. All in favor of recommending proposed Article 9? Sean?
Nay.
Scott?
Nay.
Rob?
Nay.
And Carol? Nay. So that's 4-0 no's.
04.
0-4-0. Thank you very much. I've been saying it the other way all night.
The next one is, I gotta go back to
So
my
do we
notes.
need to do a motion to change the order?
No, because I presented you the option, so I just will put it in there, that's Article 9.
Okay.
If you're looking at the right one, there was 2 in your folders.
Right.
Do we have
So,
a copy of the budget committee's budget?
yeah, sorry, can you get a copy? Yes. I just haven't finished it. I have to fix the title still. I should have that done by tomorrow for the report.
Do you just have, no, all right, are we?
No, we're not done, sorry.
Okay.
Article 10, you do have to vote on. So I will I'll email you the PDF of the the budget committee's budget. The number, so you do have to vote and whether you're gonna recommend this article or not and read it into record. The budget committee ended up with it was $78,000 less. $78,000 more that additional cuts that they were able to make from the select board's budget.
Do you just have those notes where they made cuts? The other big ones?
Maybe. So in, there are.
A big chunk came from a couple of the outside agencies.
Yep.
That was a big part of it.
Water sewer. Water sewer was a big part of it because we removed the transfer to capital reserves. It had been 35,000, so we removed 34,999. And then we also corrected an interest payment in the budget that I had made in there. I didn't remember to correct from when you guys were meeting. So that.
And then a couple of the library made some small concessions.
Yes.
A couple of the department heads made some small concessions, but the majority of it came from outside agencies and the water sewer corrections that the town made in the process.
Okay.
They did adjust the tax collector's part-time position just because by the time they hire, a quarter of the year is gone, so they adjusted that slightly too, so.
All right, I missed that meeting. Were there any reasons why the two budget committees didn't recommend the budget?
They still felt it was too high.
Okay.
They felt more cuts should have been made.
That's fine,
Yeah.
fair enough.
We'll entertain a motion and to vote on the recommendation of this and to
So-
read it into the record. Go ahead, Sean. Yes?
I'll make a motion to recommend Article 10.
Do we have to vote on this right now?
Yes, I have to have this in the town report and posted.
Article 10, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the,
Clarification, what is the reason, Rob?
I'd like to see the actual budget before I vote on it. Just to see what they actually.
I can probably get that and let you look at it really if you'd like to, but if you'd like to digest it, then you won't be able to.
No, it's not a matter of I digest it, I just at least be able to,
yeah,
be able to look
I think
at it
that
before.
seems to be
I
reasonable.
mean, I hope I'm not being unreasonable.
No, I just didn't think of sending it to you, that's my,
Yeah.
so I have to have this in the town report by tomorrow. It was supposed to be in today,
Yeah.
and then I have to post the signed version.
I feel comfortable with the discussion we had. I mean,
I
they
think,
did make cuts, but it wasn't more in depth than what we, it's not too far off from what we had.
No, but the thing is, if somebody comes up to me at the coffee shop and
Why did you
says,
cut this?
"Well, why did you vote for that when they cut this?" And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know they cut that."
so, I can give you a quick rundown if you'd like.
Sure.
So if you look, I just have to make it bigger.
Are you looking on the screen?
No, I can't unfortunately, but I can tell you. So general government executive, they cut 500. No, they cut 100 out, which was, and that was their expenses. I had actually added money to their expenses because of the training that they went to, so they cut that out. So they cut 100 out of that. Election, which is the town clerk tax collector's office, they cut the position by a quarter of the year. So that was the cut there. It went from 208,599 down to 204,599.
That's the assistant.
That's the assistant, yeah. Financial administration. That one, there's 500 that was removed, and it was an error in the system. It didn't add the office supplies, and I chose not to go back and fight it. I just let it go.
So back to that position, was their intent to eliminate the position altogether?
No, their intent was just, because she wasn't going to be hiring until a quarter of the year was probably done. They felt they could adjust that budget
Sure.
and it wouldn't affect anything.
Okay.
And they know it has to go back up next year if that position's filled, so. Reevaluation, which is assessing, that actually, we gave them, and allowed them to cut out the, clerk, when the select board reviewed the temporary clerk, we reduced it to 1,500, and then we realized we had more final answers, and we shifted our temp clerk into our permanent position, so we were able to give them that money, so they cut that. Legal expenses, they didn't touch, that stayed the same. Personal administration, they didn't touch, that stayed the same, and that's where your wage adjustments and your health insurance is. Planning stayed the same, zoning stayed the same. General government stayed the same. Cemeteries, he came in and he gave them a reduction. They cut, which was the chair of the cemetery trustees, they went from 1,200 down to 750. Insurance, property, and liability stayed the same. Advertising, regional associations, that we were able to give them a corrected number on that, so that did get reduced by about $100 of that, because we were able to give them the accurate number that we didn't have when you met, so. They did put back in the grant for the police department, so that got put back in, and then, so his number stayed the same. Fire department, stayed the same. Forestry stayed the same. Emergency management stayed the same. Highways and streets, he had a lot more comments and questions in his meeting. Get to the bottom of that line here. He was able to give them a little bit too, and I can't remember the exact items, but it went from 726 to 724, so it was a $2,000 cut. I do think.
Who was that for?
Highway department. I can't tell you the specific line off the top of my head. I think some of that was supplies.
Mark kind of.
Yeah, he gave some money towards them. I think he offered it in the discussion that night. Highways and highway projects, which is drainage and resurfacing. They talked about giving him money back, but then chose not to, and that stayed the same. Street lighting and bridges.
How much was cut from the projects?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. They talked about actually giving him money back first.
From what we cut.
From what we cut, and then that didn't happen. Highways, street lighting and bridges, they did cut the 500 for the bridges, and part of that, it's reasonable for that, because we have that money for bridges off to the side, so if something came up, we could use that money. So that was a $499 cut. Solid waste disposal, or the transfer station, there were no cut, there was a cut. Oh, there was a cut because the household hazardous waste number came in. We had the corrected number, so we had a placeholder in there when you met, and that number came in, and they cut it down from about $500, because we had that discount because we do the dumpster, so. Fire betterment stayed the same. Land use and health officer lines stayed the same. Animal control stayed the same. Health agencies, which is Lakes Region Visiting and Penny Baker, it went from 23,500 down to 20,200. So they cut them back to what their last year requests were.
Okay.
Or not last year, what their last year budgeted were. Their requests were higher last year, and they were cut last year, so we only level funded them at the 20,200.
And the select board had passed through their request, so there was a,
We didn't pass through the full request.
yeah,
The full request for, formerly known as Nana, was 33,400, but we gave them 20. And then they cut it back to the 16,700.
yeah.
Welfare administration, the employee part of it stayed the same. Vendor payments, they cut by $10,000. It was 28,900, and they cut it down to 18,900.
So who's the effect?
So it's vendor payments are when people are coming in for assistance, so the line that they.
Fuel assistance, heat
Yeah.
assistance, rent assistance.
So they cut the rent, we had budgeted $20,000 and they cut it to $10,000. They felt that because we've only spent over the last few years, which is attributed to the person that's doing the position, we've only, but this past year, we only spent $2,400. The year before, we didn't spend it much, so they felt that there was some room they could cut it. Parks and Recreation, which is the TTCC, stayed the same. Beaches stayed the same. Kelly Park, they cut out the master planning money, but we were able to encumber money, so we were able to, we hope we still can do that project this year that they had cut out, so. So it went from 30, so they cut the $20,000 out. Library, she gave them things, and she gave them a bunch of things, so I can't tell you exactly what, but everything they cut in the library, that was from the librarian. She had gone through and been able to fine tune her numbers more, so she was able to give them things. So it went from 264,838 to 262,197. So patriotic purposes, no change. Conservation Commission, they did cut out $600, which was intended for the scholarship for the camp. But we've had a gracious offer from New England Forestry and the TTCC in combination. Is that the right title?
Yeah.
To that they would be willing to do some type of help to sponsor that if the Conservation Commission wanted to still do it. So. Historic District Commission, no change, that stayed the same. Economic Development Committee stayed the same. Outside agencies, which is like your Grafton County Senior Citizens, your Voices Against Violence. Where's the bottom? They only cut, it looks like 500 out. It went from 38,838 to 38,348, and it was the, there were two spots. The Pasquaney Garden Club, the select board had rounded it up to 3,000. They put it back to level funded. And then the Newfound Lake Region Association had asked for 2,500. They met them at the halfway and gave them 2,250. Debt services, they didn't touch, and interest they didn't touch.
Good.
Interest on TAM they didn't touch, and then I'm gonna just go to the bottom line of water and sewer. Sewer. So sewer is the one where we fixed the interest payment and we gave the surplus transfer line, and it went from 725 to 717, so thousands, sorry. Which that was a big chunk of that 78. And
So that really wasn't a budget committee cut.
no, we gave that to them. We realized that there was an issue, and well, actually, Paul Reagan found the interest issue in his review,
Yeah.
and we agreed, and then we gave them the reserve. So these are things we found after the board. Some of the
Right,
stuff.
but it's not like that's not a true cut.
No, it's not a tax rate cut.
Right.
It's a user cut. So, but and then water is, I don't know what got cut in water.
Right, but that's self-funded, the enterprise fund, so,
Yeah.
Actually, I
That's
think
total
it's
project.
interest in sewer, it was the transfer in water, that's why, sorry.
That's what you're getting at.
Right.
Yeah, so water, so the interest was cut in sewer, and the transfer to capital reserves was cut in water.
So that's a huge chunk of that.
So how much of those two items, water and sewer?
38.
It was
40.
34, and I think it was, off the top of my head, somewhere around 8 to 10,000, so that's roughly 40.
So 40 from the 80.
More than half
Yeah.
is below the line, so to speak.
Yes.
Right.
So essentially, they took $38,000 from what we,
They
Yeah.
and they did reiterate how hard you worked I also have read their town report, so, and they do talk about it a little bit there as well. How hard you worked to keep the budget down, to keep the warrant articles down. And we've also been able to increase the revenues that, that are coming in, so,
I know, you sort
I
of-
wish we could have found more to
yeah.
cut down, but I just wanted to make sure I had an understanding of what we're actually.
And the only other thing that I could see when we get to town meeting, if I can ever get them to answer, is the EDA portion of the sewer project. If they would just say, at this point, I'm like, I don't care what you say, just say something, yes or no. Because if they could say that, then we could fine tune those numbers, but we can't fine tune them until we get an answer, so.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry about that, I should have shared that with you.
No,
This is fine.
Sean, do you have anything to add to that since you were there? Just generally?
No, no, and then I go ahead and say yes. Christina did a great job going through that. I wasn't there the whole time. I was there as often as I could. And I can, back up what Christina said, because Les isn't here tonight. It's, when you look at the budget and the amount, the difference between the two, it's very small on percentage-wise. And then when you listen to their language for the majority of the budget committee, I will even say all of the budget committee recognize the need and desire to back up the employees, as we try to do as a board. So while there may be some frustration there on the budget committee in terms of not being able to cut more, it is telling that they went through the whole process and really supported the effort of the select board and to recognize the employees. I would say, having been through this a lot of times now, both the budget and the select board side, that, especially since the majority is, like I said, below the line in the enterprise fund, that it's certainly something that the select board, the next select board can work with to achieve those goals of that budget.
Thank you. Any more discussion?
I can tell you the bottom percentage if you'd like. The select board was 10.48% increase. That includes obviously water and sewer. And the budget committee is 9.42.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? And none being heard, do we have a recommendation from
Do we
anyone?
have a second on
I did.
Say again?
Did you motion?
Oh, yes, we've already motioned a second, and this was discussion, correct. We didn't read it in though, did we?
He just
I
read
s-
it, Article 10.
Yes, so let's read an article, I'll do that. To see if the town, Article 10, will vote to raise and appropriate the budget committee's recommended sum of $9,144,789.68 for general and municipal operations. The select board recommends $9,233,665.68. This article does not include appropriations contained in special or individual articles addressed separately. Majority vote required. And we're ready to vote. So we're voting to recommend. Sean?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Rob?
it? Aye.
And Carol? Aye. So we have 4-0-0.
I have two more things on this. So I just wanted, because a comment had been made in the planning board meeting last night, about majority vote required, and I thought it would be good to explain to the public what that means, because because it did get confusing for me last night when Scott asked me, do you need a majority vote? And I think you meant, do you need a 3/5 vote?
Yeah,
So-
a super majority, or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, whenever you see majority vote required, this just means a regular vote, but it's the greatest number of votes that would be needed to pass. Or pass or not pass. Special votes, like on bonds, et cetera, require a 3/5 ballot vote and would need to say this with the warrant article. So all of ours are just regular majority votes
Okay.
in the warrant. The last thing is on the Article 13, and so you don't have to vote on this, but I just need to have a conversation with you about it. On the way in today, it dawned on me that we have to hold public hearings on this article. So I talked to the town's attorney, and the public hearings do not have to happen before town meeting. I have to present, so I did present to the historic district. I did, and I have to present, yes, I figured you might want to talk about that. But I have to present to the Conservation Commission. So I'm scheduled for March 6th, and I have to present to the Planning Board on March 13th. Anytime, just want to put this out so anybody who might be on the board, if I'm not in the TA position, remembers that when you purchase a property, you have to go to the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, and then hold their very, very specific criteria. You have to advertise 14 days before your public hearing. You have to hold the first public hearing. You have to hold the second public hearing, and it has to be within 10 to 14 days of the first one. If you miss that in any way, you start all over. And then you have to, I can't remember, the last meeting, you said after you're done your second public hearing, you have to hold a third meeting, and that has to be within 7 to 14 days, and you vote. And that's because you're purchasing the property. So I wanted to schedule these tentatively with the thoughts that hopefully this will pass, so I can get this moved. So if it does pass, I can move forward with the schedule. So April 4th, I'm suggesting, is the first public hearing. April 18th would be the second public hearing, and May 2nd would be the vote. And I know Sean won't be here for those parts, but I just wanted to make sure I could schedule them.
Say those again?
What do they vote?
You have to vote to purchase the property. Even though you're doing a warrant article to purchase it, you have to go through this process to officially move forward afterwards. So it's just, we had to do this with, remember La Valley? We had to do this very specific, and all we were doing, we were buying some of La Valley's property and trading an easement, but we had to do this whole process with them as well, So March 6th is the Conservation Commission, March 13th is the Planning Board. April 4th is the first public hearing with the at the select board meeting.
At the select board meeting?
Yes. And then April 18th would be the second public hearing at the select board meeting. And
Okay.
May 2nd would be the vote at the select board meeting. And I'll have a motion prepared for that vote for you.
Okay. Are you gonna prepare a, invite or meeting document?
Oh, well, it'll be in your meeting. These are regular meetings, by the way.
Oh,
These
they all are
These are
regular.
all regular meetings. I went through and picked them because I had to make specific timeframes in between them. So these are your regular meetings.
You said May 2nd was the third one?
Yep, the vote, yep.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
And then if you, because I'm running out of time, if you are comfortable with me just adding your votes from the warrant tonight, are you comfortable with signing?
Yes, I am.
I can go in and add the votes, and I have to post this on, out in the lobbies with them at 7:37. And I also have to update the Department of Revenue, paid with the votes and finalize their side too, so. And then it has to go into the town report.
Christina,
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
if you leave that on the counter, I can swing through early in the morning and sign.
I'll leave it right outside the office.
Okay.
you very much.
All right. There we go. Okay, next item on the agenda, Town Administrator's Report.
I think I've talked enough.
Probably covered everything already.
No.
Oh, boy.
Let me just get
T report.
mine open. I'll open it. Start off with, at the the employee department updates. I'm going back to, just to give you a heads up, some of these things are things that I'm updating you on, that we talked about before, giving you some updates.
Okay.
I'm trying to go back through all of the TA reports from last year, to make sure nothing slipped through the cracks, and I've given, because I feel like something may have, so, so under the assessing and land use department, just wanted to give you a heads up that our assessing firm, we were out in the community and he was attacked by 2 dogs at a property. The minute we were informed, we dispatched the police department and the ambulance to check him and check on his injuries. I was supposed to have I said that I submitted them the police report. I don't have that yet. We were supposed to get it today. I didn't see it come through yet. I do have the incident report from the fire department, and I'm also confirmed we have no liability with this. It is a contracted firm. Their workers' comp and everything should take care of it, but I just want to make sure that you are aware, so.
Thank you.
Where did that happen?
He knocked on a door, and when the owner opened the door, the dogs came out after him. He fell down, and he has bite marks on his shoulder area. I think when we dispatched the ambulance, his adrenaline was probably still running through him, and he ended up in the urgent care later that evening. But knock on wood, he is okay, other than I think a little sore, so.
What kind of dogs? It's fair to ask that
So
question.
I don't know for sure, but when I looked at the report, because whenever there's a dog bite, it has to be reported.
Yeah.
So urgent care sent in a report, and in the report, I thought it said pit bull type dog.
Okay, thank you. That's good. That's enough.
West Shore Road, there had been a concern about the portable unit that had been in the flood water. We have, our land use department has spoken to them, and they are agreeing to move it to higher ground.
Where's this?
West Shore Road?
Up by Fallow River?
Yes,
The property right next to the river?
with the storage containers.
Yeah.
They are going to move it early spring. Right now there's snow, and I'm not sure if they can move it or not, but we are working with them to make sure that it's out of any flood water in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Just a note for the board as well as the public, the assessors are going to be going out in the next few weeks. They do what we call our pickups, which are construction or changes on properties. We have 229 properties this year. Last year there was 181. So we definitely increased the permitting's been increased, enforcement's been increased, everything, so. Seasonal campers at Davidson's Campground, there are 44 letters that were sent out. We're hoping that this will curb the number of abatements that we get for unregistered versus registered, so hopefully that will help. The other thing, I forgot to put in the scan, but I can pass, sorry Sean, I can email you it. We're working, I think I mentioned the Welcome to Bristol cards last week, last meeting, but I don't think I had them. So we didn't order a lot. We're just trying to test this out and see what we can do. The first one, as a Welcome to Bristol, has a really pretty, it's hard for you to see, but it has a downtown picture. And this is where it says, congratulations on your property purchase. Here's some things that you would need a permit for.
It's
And
like
then-
getting a piece of coal in your socket.
So, and Joanne and I were talking, and I said, well, you know, we have such trouble getting people to join committees.
Yeah.
Let's talk about doing something a little different with your cards, and let's talk about ever thought of volunteering, you know? So she did work on something, it has a picture of the lake. We only ordered a little of these, and then and one of the things that I talked to her today about is we do have a volunteer form I created when we did when we went to events, we set up with that sign that said, take part in your community volunteers today. We have a sign that we use when we go to events. So we're gonna handwrite and we're gonna get the volunteer form on the website to see if we can get more people to volunteer, but this is that one. So these aren't permanent, this is something we're working on, and we're testing. In the past, she had sent letters, but she was sending letters to people, welcome to Bristol, when they bought a property. But most of the people who are violating still are people who got those letters, so we're like, well, they're not reading them. That's what so we're trying the postcard approach. So I figured I'd pass that around. I forgot to put it in the packet though. I have a few things under the executive department. We talked about the Barbara Greenwood dedication before, and I just wanted to follow up with the board on the thoughts about it, in addition, because I know we didn't finish that conversation. The library, I did find out the library has named an area, not actually a room, it's an area at the library, and it's called the Barbara Greenwood Genealogy Area. And I said, I just wanted to double check, does the board have an interest in naming this meeting room? I just threw out some ideas in the TA report. This is what you thought, Sean, was this meeting room had been named, and we didn't do it. So.
I say we name the whole damn building after her. I'm dead serious. Like, I don't think it's,
Oh, meeting room versus a building, right?
yeah, I don't think just a meeting room is enough for what she did for this community. Just my 2 cents.
Would you name, so if we named this building, we'd come up with a name, get a plaque, and do a little ceremony?
Yeah.
You're on mute, Sean.
You know how I feel about her, I would strongly support that.
Same here.
Do you want to come up with some ideas for what we would call it? I threw out, because when we were talking about the meeting room, I said the Barbara Greenwood meeting room or the Greenwood conference room, but do we want to think about that before?
Yeah, is this the right fit? I'm just trying to think of what. There's not one area that Barbara was
Right.
like her thing. It was kind of all inclusive. So I think, yeah, the town office is probably what best represents that.
Well, and she did spearhead the movement on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, between that and that building represents the town as she did, I think that building is most appropriate.
Sorry about that, I forgot to hand them the stuff to sign.
Yeah.
So,
Like the Greenwood Town, no, I don't know.
I call it the Barbara Greenwood Town Office Building.
Town of Bristol office building. Right, because it's confusing, because if you just call it, yeah, I think we should incorporate Bristol somehow, but also her name, so it's less confusing for people.
I think it would be confusing to put them both. But how would you say that?
Right.
The Barbara Greenwood Bristol Town Office Building?
Right.
Well, you could say like Town of Bristol and then say Barbara Greenwood Town Office Building.
Right.
Like a subtitle almost.
Yeah, you could. What is our sign up stuff? Is that granite though?
No, it's green.
Yeah. Well, the posts are.
The
Right.
post, right, this sign in the middle is, I don't even know.
You
Looks
could,
like wood.
I guess you could put a sign at the top.
A plaque above the door like Barbara Greenwood
Yeah.
office building or.
Leave that sign out there alone, but put
Sure.
a plaque somewhere on the building. Either above both doors.
Yeah.
Okay, put Barbara
Or a
Greenwood,
sign on the road.
the sign on the road.
Do we have, yeah, do we have a Bristol Town office sign?
Yes, we have one with granite posts and then a regular sign in the middle painted.
That's an option as well, just throwing that out there.
Did I just put these? Lately. Well, so we can look in, I can look into sign thoughts, and come back to you with suggestions.
Okay.
I'll put it away, oh, I need that, thank God I looked. Okay. I did, sorry, I forgot to pass the consent agenda around folder. So just to touch base really quick, that folder will not be just consent agenda anymore. We're not gonna have multiple folders. Previously, the consent agenda was prepared in my office downstairs, and that's why the separate folders have been
yeah.
created. We're just gonna have the one folder to sign. If you wanted to look at any bills from the manifest in the future, it'll be in this orange folder, for you. And we'll have that, but I hid it for tonight's meeting apparently, so.
Okay.
Just a reminder, actually this won't affect Sean, so whoever on the board becomes the chair in April, the auditors will be here from April 15th through April 19th. Sometimes there are forms that the chair has to fill out for the auditors, so just wanted to make sure I give you a heads up. It is, the time that my evaluation is slightly overdue. We are still using the same form for the evaluation. So my question, a couple of questions, does the board want me to do my own self-evaluation? Or would you just want to do a regular evaluation like you did previously? And then I was thinking that we probably should do this before Sean leaves. And I can get the form out to everybody, and we can do it at the March 7th meeting if you agree.
You don't need to do a self-evaluation, I don't think.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
I'm not a big fan of that, I thought that was, I've always kind of.
Was it a one, well, how,
This is the 1 year. Technically, my 1 year was
we did
January,
a 6
so
month?
we did the 6 month, so this is the 1 year.
Seems like you just did that one.
I know. But I thought it would be good before Sean left to get it done.
Yeah.
We're doing, all of the departments are doing them, they're due to me by March 1st. So they should have their evaluations, being done as well. Okay, I'll schedule it for the 7th, and I'll send you out the form. And no self-evaluation. One of the things I did, I went through my notebook that I have with notes in it. So I haven't gone through all the TA report, but in the notebook, in November of 2023, there was a note from the select board meeting about extra lighting down North Main Street. Unfortunately, that's one of the things I didn't get to do anything with, but I wanted to clarify. Is this extra lighting, or are we thinking, were we looking to move the lighting and spread it out down North Main Street? It wasn't clear in my comments.
I think that was,
That's that thing that Scott brought from a neighbor.
Yeah, it was a request.
they wanted to add a light at the bottom of the street, and then we kind of decided that it wasn't needed.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
It was at the Overland Drive
Okay.
intersection.
All committee, so I wanted to follow up with you on the all committees meeting. comments from my notes in November mentioned that, so that, I have comments from November, but I've also, there are comments from the all committees meeting, that there are a number of committees. Is there a need for this many committees? Is there a way to organize the committees better? Or like, for instance, combine and create subcommittees? Is this something the board would like to look at before the next all committees meeting?
Sounds like something for April.
Yeah.
April is the next all committees meeting,
I
so, but
had
I
a
think,
feeling I was
so,
gonna say that. I think it makes sense, it does make sense.
before
So the set the end of March, the second March meeting?
the second March meeting, which would be your first meeting as a new board. So, okay, so I'll do that,
And it's only one member changing, so.
yeah. Along with that, so in that meeting, it became clear that there was a concern of members of the meeting that they weren't invited to the first round, which made me think about the ones we didn't invite to this round, like the zoning board, and either the library trustees. I would like to also, for us to take a look at that list, at that meeting and determine if we should also, if it would be beneficial to invite other committees potentially that didn't get invited to this group.
Gonna need a bigger boat.
I was just, yeah.
Yeah, I know. But I figure, so I can bring that to you and you could take a look at the full list and make a decision.
Yeah, we shouldn't leave, the whole point of this is not leaving anybody out.
Yeah. And my thoughts are if we do decide to bring those groups in, I think it would be beneficial to have them participate in the same type of survey to get their input and what their challenges are, so. I also would like to start us re-reviewing and fine-tuning the committee guidelines we started this past year. I think the basic guidelines are fine, but there should be an appendix potentially that is reviewed yearly with the committee to provide guidance on each year's projects. Guidelines are issued out and obviously the projects haven't been followed through being brought to the board for agreement on, and so I can, my thoughts are just to do it as, so you'd have your regular basic guidelines and then there would be an appendix that would be changed each year, 2024 projects or something like that. I don't know what your thoughts are. I can prepare a sample of what I'm thinking and bring it to that meeting, the first one, the organizational one.
Sure.
Lastly, there is no energy policy no official energy policy. Would you like to bring the energy committee in to meet with the board?
Why don't you have Sean answer that? Sorry.
Sorry, what?
Sorry. So, this is the point I brought up, that it turns out we don't have an energy policy. Although one was presented to us because it was put into the aggregate plan for the community power.
Right.
And personally, I didn't agree with a few of the bullet points. I'd have to see them again to be really more clear on that. Do we want to have the energy committee come in to give us ideas, or do we want to talk it out first on our own?
I don't know.
You won't be here.
I don't know that dragging it out helps. I mean, I kind of feel it's better to be in the room, and you guys don't have to make that, you don't have to make that decision that meeting, but I think I'd have them come in first.
Okay.
So my question would be, do you want them in before town meeting? Because that energy policy could be brought up at town meeting. And that would mean March 7th.
How many meetings do we have on March 7th? Just one?
You
Second.
start at 4 o'clock and you go straight through unless you have.
I think it's,
I'm not gonna be able to start at 4 o'clock.
Oh yeah, 4 o'clock is the site visit. And
All
then
right.
5 o'clock is non-public.
No, it was a joke. You don't have to tell me. I was just,
Oh, okay.
we
Sorry.
keep adding things to that day, that's all.
You already have a meeting on March 7th.
no, but I have a good recommendation from a town resident who reached in via text message.
Listening to them.
Yes, regarding the Barbara Greenwood dedication, and that is to dedicate the old historic town hall.
So because we did name that historic, we named it the historic
Which
town
is
hall.
terrible. So if we
Yeah.
rename that the Barbara Greenwood building, then
It's a thought too.
The historic Barbara Greenwood.
just the Barbara Greenwood. Let's
Not
drop
the
the
historic,
I read, yeah.
the 1878 Barbara Greenwood.
No, it's.
The old Barbara Greenwood building.
18 something, but not that.
Just the Barbara Greenwood
The
town
Barbara
building. How about the Barbara Greenwood town building?
Well, you know. Do you wanna
Or
say
sometimes they say
there?
this building dedicated to.
The Barbara Greenwood meeting place. Barbara
Should-
Greenwood Meeting House.
Should we reach out to the family?
I actually think she'd be more happy with none of it, but with the town office building and the old.
I think so.
Yeah,
I mean, I know that she had a lot of effort into that building as well,
yeah.
but
Should we reach out to the family or should we just make this call ourselves?
I can reach out to Michelle, I mean, I can.
probably a good call to reach out to Michelle.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I can invite the energy committee to March 7th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Election,
And should we prepare him for, or let him know what we're discussing?
Yep.
And maybe he can bring some ideas?
well,
Yeah.
it's in the
He's already got some-
slideshow.
Well, yeah, I know, but he put that in there, but then.
Well, and in fairness, I understand how that works because my boss and I created policies for DES when we were the last night filling out a grant application. And
Right,
all of a sudden it says you have to include your XYZ policy. And we're like, there is no such thing. So you kind of fabricate that on the fly.
just to get it in there,
You
right?
do, yeah. I mean, sometimes that happens, so that's okay.
All right, election closeout. I just wanted, we didn't really talk much about this election, except we did talk about, a little bit about the rat shuttle. I just wanted to close it out and to prepare for the March elections. But there were a couple of concerns that have been brought up that day, so I just wanted to, use of the vehicle, I think we touched base on this a little bit, but are you still okay with just using the water sewer vehicle we bought? We do have those equipment to make sure that people can get in and out easily.
I was gonna say which one, we used like 3 different vehicles that day.
Well, I think the chief switched to the police cruiser that day,
Yeah,
Yeah,
but,
and then the fire department used the utility at one point.
yeah.
yeah.
Or as opposed to renting a minivan, we're okay. So we're gonna use what? Whatever.
Well, we can use the water sewer vehicle again, well, for the people who would drive that, but if the police chief volunteers, he would use his cruiser again, I'm sure. But,
As opposed to spending money renting something.
right.
You guys, I didn't drive it, what did you think?
I thought it was fine to drive.
For people getting in and out of it as well.
I never drove it. Nobody get in it.
I made one trip, I think. So-
I made multiple, I think I probably, between Trevor and I, we had the most.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's when I sent Trevor to buy the step stool, because I'm like, I can't push people in, you need to go get it. So he did, and we have the stool and we have the handle, and that
Oh,
made
okay.
it much easier
Oh,
for
okay.
people to get in and out, so.
okay,
Um,
okay.
There was a concern that was raised about School Street being quite narrow. People, I don't think, realize that it's a two-way at the end. And then someone was very upset with the police department, and felt they should be doing traffic control in and out of
So
School Street.
at that, I think that was when school let out especially,
Yeah,
so.
I agree, I think we should have a, because this is such a trick getting out of this parking lot and out into the road and people are walking on the sidewalk, we should probably put a policeman there for the day, I think. Not the same guy necessarily, but I think we should have a policeman out there for the day.
Or at least especially in the late afternoon when
the
school's
busiest
letting out.
time.
Yeah,
And it was a mess down there first thing in the morning.
Yeah,
And it was, unfortunately,
Everybody-
was prior to an officer showing up or
Everybody-
even having a cruiser there, so it just, Yeah,
Again, the school traffic,
yeah.
essentially.
What would be,
Majority of it.
I mean, what would be the
drop off.
cost of putting someone there for the day, for safety? It's not a huge deal.
I mean, you could, in slower periods, you could definitely not have somebody out there, but you don't know what those slower
You
periods are
don't,
gonna be.
I mean,
Well, at least probably from, 7:45 to,
I was gonna say
8:30
7 to 9.
yeah. Well, election, Sean just walked off into the woods.
I know, I saw that. It's pretty cool.
And then what, so 7:45 to 9 mainly,
Lunchtime was pretty busy. I mean,
11,
At
So
this
you might as well
point,
just say 7 to, oh.
at this point, we should just, I think, you just
All
put
day,
somebody out
okay.
there.
Is there anything else from that day that you think we need to change?
Yes.
Okay,
Our public member last
Oh,
meeting brought
hand-
up the
yep.
ramp.
The handrails.
The
Yeah.
handrail on the ramp, but I thought Trevor was gonna,
we have that on our list, but we
Okay.
closed the building down right now, so we will try to make sure it's fixed before elections.
Is there, at a couple of points, the line was right back to the door. Can we move that whole setup back 10 feet?
We can ask.
was there guidelines for space?
So I was gonna
Space,
say with
well, I
that guy
don't know.
with his tape measure.
Right,
Oh,
right.
that's right.
That's right. We know what this is. The counting machine has to be 6 feet from where the public is standing.
You're on mute, John.
We know that.
Yeah, that's okay.
Did you hear us? We were like, Sean just walked off into the forest.
Yeah, when you walked off, you were taking a hike into the woods.
Yeah,
I don't want to make it any more unpleasant than it can be that time of year with the weather, but usually we have more, the officers that's there has more of an outside presence than
Yeah.
in. And I just think with, occasionally people crossing the road and everything, it's just I'd rather
And
have,
coming up that.
I hate to ask that just because I've spent the whole day out there in a snowstorm holding a sign.
Last year.
Well, and I stood out here, I was gonna say, I get yelled at a couple of times, not because of traffic.
This year?
Oh, yes. And because their office was closed. I'm like, it's elections. And the person unfortunately that yelled at me didn't even know who I was. I was standing next to a car that said shuttle vehicle.
So,
So-
I'll talk about this in select minutes.
Okay, so, handrails?
Handrail, did somebody say snow coming off the roof, or am I
It
dreaming?
can't, no, the
It
snow
did
came
come
off the roof and
And
damaged
broke the
the
rails
that heavy wet snow.
They had to shovel that morning immediately, so.
And they had it cleared and it came off that night.
Okay, and make sure we have the doodad to undo
That
that.
didn't have one.
The dude.
We looked at it.
The push bar, you're supposed to have a hex key that keeps the push bar up.
Oh, I thought you just needed a penny.
Well, I've done that, or a
But
car
it
key.
didn't, I don't remember seeing a spot for it.
Sometimes it's underneath, but anyway,
Oh, okay.
you should check it.
All right, we'll check it.
Well, it didn't matter because the door doesn't really shut, so it kind of let cold air in most of the day.
Do we have a beware of falling snow sign there?
Well, there's no snow right now, so we'll see what
Well-
happens between now and then.
Well, no, that's a point. It is a good point.
Yeah. Like I said, I've stood out there in a snowstorm before, so.
Yeah.
We will advertise, the shuttle early then. That often helps too, for people to know. Anything else on elections?
Can we, maybe even put, the cruiser's out there with the lights, so I guess that's enough.
They did put the cruiser with the lights further up.
Further up, yeah, I was thinking maybe some traffic cones on the yellow line.
That just confuses things
Oh,
more.
no, in the morning, there was a lot of honking going on, so I knew there was trouble in the morning, like you said.
No, I would like to see an officer out in front there before elections start.
So as far as Rama and Ned are concerned, does an officer have to be inside the building?
I think they said no.
No, okay.
No.
I agree, I think
It
it.
just needs to be on site.
It just, especially if you're turning in and out with the shuttle vehicle and that stuff, I think it would be.
I know in years past, it's always been having an officer outside night. And don't get me wrong, I have no problem coming in, grab something to eat,
Yeah.
use the facilities, to, warm up, whatever.
Okay,
Yep.
anything else? Okay,
Oh, put on the web page in large letters, the town offices will be closed that day.
it was.
They-
It was on,
they-
but
it's-
I will put
They
it
didn't,
on.
the complaint, one complaint was that they called and the
The voicemail wasn't,
Oh, didn't say the right thing, yeah,
the
that's,
voicemail didn't say they were closed.
I mean, that's kind of fair, I get that.
But I guess that's a pain to change.
It isn't, it's easy.
Okay.
There's a way with the voicemail that you can set a temporary greeting, which won't override the one that exists. And all
Oh,
your-
well, that's
so it's
perfect
wicked
then.
easy.
Yeah.
And then maybe we do one the day before even as a
Yeah.
warning.
Yep.
Okay, nothing
Um,
else for me?
Select board folders, Sean. I need them back, but, returned back to the office by the March 7th meeting, so you,
These
for the ones
things?
who don't take them, we're gonna
These
need them,
things?
yeah.
Yeah,
We're gonna be updating, them for the first meeting after town meeting. Question would be, is there anything additional the board would like to see in them? I think one of them was the talk of the wage scale tonight.
yeah,
So I will make sure that we add that in after, once that is, once that's finally approved, so. We did have an idea with the flow charts. We're gonna do more simplified without phone numbers, because some of them have the PD phone numbers on them, each individual officer. I don't think you necessarily need that in your flow charts.
no,
But we would like to share these out potentially with either on the website, if we take those things off, or with other committees. It came up a lot during the budget committee, and I thought they would be one that would be a good one to have the flow chart with, so they can see the number of employees and that information. But before I did that, I wanted to run that by the board to make sure if they had any concerns about that.
yeah.
If it's, a matter of just employee or what you do position, or,
We
now
can-
you wanna put a name.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah,
So
I've
we-
seen some towns that share all the employees' town email addresses
Yeah.
on the website.
Well, ours are on the website, maybe not every single person, but they are on the website, yes.
I mean, it's pretty easy to figure out.
Ours aren't. The only way you get in touch with
Yours
us is
is-
that stupid contact form, isn't it?
Yours is on the website.
No, okay.
It's added on,
Never mind, it's all right, go ahead.
So we get the
I wanna
spelling.
make sure, I thought we added it to the
Check your
website.
spam folder.
We added it to the website on the select board page, but you can't, we had to add it down by your name.
Yeah, okay,
So-
that's fine. Actually, somebody thanked us for doing that recently too, didn't they?
Maybe.
In one of the meetings here,
Oh,
someone
that's
thanked.
right. Yes, because that's how they found your information.
Right. If I were to be, we don't have time to do this, but these should all be a consistent format across department. And I think they should, and I know you said it does make it complicated because you have to change it. I think they should have the pay grades in each one. That's really handy for us sitting here.
You mean the pay grades on the flow charts?
Yeah, so if it's position
But that's,
such and such.
oh, I could do the grades, I can do the steps on them, because that will change much
We'll
Good.
change with each person.
with each person.
Right.
Going.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just,
If they leave or move.
So we could have, they are in the process of doing them right now.
Okay.
I've given them a March 8th deadline.
Yeah.
So I can take a look at them. I may not be able to get them in the exact same format right now.
everything I just said is really not very important. It's priority wise.
But if I get you,
Sean, he's like, you've been talking about this for 2 years.
well, if I put the wage scale on there, it will have titles and grades on the wage
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah.
So that so we may not have to add that to your flow chart, but it would be in their titles and grades,
Mhm.
or on all of them. Is that okay for this year?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fantastic.
They'll ask for more next year, it's all right. One more thing.
Any other ideas for the binders? Or you can think about it too, because we just want to have it done for the first meeting, after town meeting.
Yeah, it's good, I think.
You know, it's funny, while we're on a conversation of flowcharts, because we did a consolidation of 3 territories into one, so they eliminated some upper management positions or restructured. And I'm like, can I just get a flowchart? I'm like, who's doing what? Who do I need to email for this? Or I'm like, they're like, what? A what? I'm like,
Okay,
just a chart.
That's more of an organizational chart.
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, we have an organizational chart in there, but we don't know what the job description is.
Right.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
Town beaches, Deb's starting to advertise for the beach attendants.
Nice.
Anyone interested can visit the town website to review the job description under job and board opportunities, or you can contact Deb Tibby at the town offices. The Homestead McDonough family, we have posted on the website, Facebook, and added to the buzz. We put a thank you to the Homestead and the McDonough family. The town of Bristol sends out thanks and recognition for their ongoing generosity to the town. Their continued support allows us to reach new heights and achieve our goals. We've also sent them out a card which was more specific about the donations that they made. And then Mark McDonough had actually relayed, he expressed his sincere gratitude for the nice words shared by the town.
Nice.
So
When you say donation, was that what we had discussed afterwards?
blue box.
Blue box, okay.
Okay.
For the, yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Just wanted to let you know, Reaching Rural, the Advancing Collaborative Solutions, that was the grant that we agreed to apply for. The work was done by the group. We just had to be the point of contact sign off on it. Unfortunately, Bristol was not selected. There were a significant number of applications received. Out of the applications received, there were 11 teams and 13 individuals that were selected. The group would like the board to know, even though they weren't funded, they truly appreciate the town's willingness to be the fiscal agent and lead for this project. Please extend our gratitude to the select board. They're going after, I don't know what the DFC funding is. This is from their email this spring, so stay tuned, they're still in the chase.
Okay.
Artists on display, we have 3 artists on display in the 3 reception areas of the town office building. Lauren Thoreau, right? Terrio, excuse me. Sue Bean and Danique Van Derven. Please stop by and check out the pictures and artwork. Anyone interested in displaying should reach out to Deb Clark Tibby in the executive office. Budget committee public hearing. I was just going to let you, actually I am going to read this because I just want I did hear this concern also raised at the Historic District Commission meeting, but it was before the meeting started. If you look under, it says TA Budget Committee Public Hearing, the concern, so you can see the original email that came in and then you can see the response that I gave, but I do want to make sure for the public as well. The committee reviewed the budget but didn't touch base on the warrant articles completely during the budget hearing. The concern that was raised was that under the RSA, the budget committee had to discuss. I did speak with the town's attorney about this, and as long as they were disclosed, which they were before the meeting and also handed out at the meeting, then we didn't break any rules with this. But I have talked to the budget committee chair and let him know the concern, and he's going to relay that to the group, so when they do their planning meetings in the future, if he's not the chair, that they will, the best practice is to talk about the warrant articles during the public hearing. Okay. They don't vote on anything, they just have to have a discussion. It's best to have that discussion during the public hearing, and then when they close the public hearing, that's when they vote on everything, so. survey, are we still conducting the impromptu survey on 85 Lake Street? At elections and town meeting? I've confirmed with Rayma that we can do it at elections. It would be like a little piece of paper with a box. And so I wanted to talk to you so we could get it ready, if that's what you want to do. I put some notes here about it would be a checkbox list of options with a small line they could write other in.
Well, that would be good.
But I don't know if we still want to do this or not, but I wanted to put this out.
After spending the day at the voting and having discussions, and still time, I don't know, I was thinking, I don't even know if there's a need, because you had further conversation with another party. And we can still have more discussion. I don't know. Is it a way? I don't know if it's a valid point, if it's just a waste of time, or, I mean, we'll get some people, but we'll get some input, but does it?
I think it's a
Every
waste of
voice
time.
matters, but.
I mean, one of us could stand there next to the box and just let people know that it's there. We could take turns standing near it.
I'll let you do that.
It's just a public service. It's just a skill, that's all. I mean,
Yeah.
geez.
Well, and I'm fine with whatever you decide. We need to make sure something's prepared, and we would have to have it ready for your March 7th meeting to look at.
Approve, right.
Right.
So the only thing I would say about what you have here,
I didn't say, this is just, this isn't anything
no, but I'm just saying, it would be sell or keep, and under keep you would have senior center, I don't know about election and voting facility, or senior center / other, I guess, or just
so have,
sell or, well, it's gonna be a senior.
I agree, have sell at the top.
Yeah, but I was gonna say that.
I guess I already know what the general consensus is. I know what my opinion is on it. I don't think doing this is gonna change.
I don't think
either
it'll
one of those
change
things.
either one. You're right, we can have a discussion down the road too.
Yeah, I know what I wanna see, but I also know what is realistic too, and that's.
Or we could have a
public hearing.
ballot, we could have a survey at town meeting.
No, hold,
To hand out.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
so that was the other thing is,
Not at the election, at town meeting.
okay, so
There either or in this comment.
Which is, go ahead, Scott, sorry.
one thing is to maybe move forward, instead of doing this, it'll come back to me now. No, well, it is, no, it was, no.
He already helped with survey on Facebook.
Hold on, right here. This one person I was talking to thought it would just be best to form a committee and let the committee.
It's just another committee.
No, I know, but it's a temporary, right? Do we need to have a vote on that to form a committee?
But then the committee's gonna say, what does everyone wanna do?
Well, you have to form a committee, you have to pick who's gonna be on it.
We
what
just need to sell the
membership's gonna
building.
be. All right, so no survey, is that the general consensus?
After all this, I kinda like the idea.
Do you think I can go either way.
I don't know, I guess we don't know if it'll be valuable till we see it. And that, again, it's how many people show up to vote and how many people show up at town meeting.
Maybe it's something simple as a box that says sell, a box that says keep, and if you pick keep, what do you
When
suggest
this
it's
was
used
pitched
for?
to the taxpayers,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was pitched as that building going back on the tax roll.
I don't remember that ever.
No discussion about
You mean
anything
the
else.
new building, when the new building was pitched?
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
I wasn't there, so.
I don't
specifically
remember it.
I don't remember that.
Sean, help me out.
Well, you know where I stand, I think we need, I think the town council set out. I think that, I have no problem at all with having something by the door that people can give input in. I have no problem with that at all. But in the end, the town, the select board is gonna consider that input.
Right.
We can still.
I support it for having more input to sell it.
Sure. Let's just have it. let's just do the survey and do our due diligence.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts anything, just, you know, my only comment about that is the ones that are most wanting, I think that the ones that are most wanting to do something with the building would be the ones most likely to say anything about it.
Right, like anything.
Personally, I think there's a larger silent majority to get that back on the tax roll, but.
What, Sean, I don't know if you heard what Rob said. He said that he believed that the agreement, when people agreed for the public safety building, that it was said that this building would be sold and put back in the tax roll.
I was just trying to find the minute.
I'm trying to wonder if that was just an assumption made. I don't remember the Space Needs Committee ever saying that, or.
It was town meeting.
I remember it being said.
Yeah,
At
I'm sure it was mentioned in somewhere or another. I don't specifically remember it at the discussion about the warrant article for the new building. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Right. But, I mean, that was 5 years ago when we were talking about essentially pitching this building. And, you know, town's needs change, so, I mean, I wouldn't go back 5 years.
Change in ownership, somebody's gonna pay taxes.
Well, and that's it.
Next!
Well,
So what are the plans for the current fire department if this passes? Don Milburn stated that it would be up to the select board at the time the fire department moves. There are many options out there: make it a community center, sell it, put it back on the tax rolls. The board at that time will need to make the decision then. If it sells, will the town put the improvements in place well, it goes on for other things. So it sounds like we didn't, and this is the minutes, granted they may not be perfect minutes, but that's what, it sounds like we didn't specifically say that, but.
minutes of?
Yeah.
Town meeting.
Yep. Thank you. Okay. I think we can do a survey and use it. Keep it simpler, like you said.
Although the comment at this from the Historic District Commission last night was,
I'm gonna talk about that in,
okay, because, well, it was, I hate to tear down a building if you're gonna need more space,
yeah,
but,
yeah.
We were really doing with it is we could have a
okay,
Japanese
so,
knockout fire.
a checkbox that says sell, a checkbox that says keep, and then maybe under keep it says suggestions for use of the line, and they have to handwrite it in. No other options. Does that work for the choking Carol crowd?
Sorry, Carol.
Did you hear that, Sean?
I did, yeah.
I'll prepare something and bring it to you next meeting.
Oh, mamma mia.
I'm missing out.
No, you could put as one of the options Japanese knotweed farm, because that's what it's full of.
See why I was laughing.
All right. Fire department, one of the things that in my cleaning up stuff, there was a special comment that we did receive in November. Unfortunately, I never shared with the board or the public. I did share with the fire chief. So I just wanted to share that out. There was an incident in November for this person's neighbor who suffered a heart attack. He wanted to share with the first responders that he felt that they went above and beyond and did a great job handling the situation. So,
Excellent.
at the time, we did share with the fire chief, but I forgot to mention it to the board, so.
Excellent.
Highway department, the Laconia DPW had a death of one of their employees and is holding a parade of DPW trucks, vehicles. They've asked area towns to participate next Tuesday, and Bristol is sending a truck.
Which color we sending?
The newer one, which is it the white one?
No,
Which one does Chris Grant drive? I think
the
it's
red one.
the newest one, the nicest looking one.
Well, Laconia is red, so that's probably appropriate.
No, they yellow. We should get a yellow one. We don't have those yet.
That's all we both have.
I'm 100% in agreement with you on this.
I do like the colors, the same, but when I was on the board of Groton, they were all different colors too, and I hated it. So.
Yeah, I know. We look just like these other towns that don't have matching trees.
Beach Street drainage concern, there was the concern raised that, There was a concern raised about all the flooding or the buildup of water at the top. I checked with Mark. That concern unfortunately is not part of the Beach Street project this year. Mark did report that the drainage from the development at the end of the road goes into a drain and down to the river. He said the drain crosses under the road and the storm drain system starts just before entering into the development. I think he was gonna, I will follow up, but I thought they said they were going to check and see if there could be any blockage potentially. But he doesn't, when we talk, we don't believe so. We believe it's just been the amount of rain that we've been getting.
So it's not a failure of the private system.
No, he said that our drainage starts just before entering into the development, so.
And this is addressing Bob's previous concern that you came in with?
He's had two separate concerns. One is the concern about, down near 2nd Street.
Yeah.
We're gonna be doing a project around that area.
Yes, but no, Bob specifically came in with this
The one
concern.
above, yes, this
Yeah,
specifically addresses the one above, so.
It does.
Well, no, the project will not address that
Right.
issue, but this answers part of the question about whether we believe there's a blockage or not. The water actually goes under the road down to the river, so I just think that, Mark and I both think that they are not handling the amount of rain that we're getting, but we're gonna keep an eye on it as well and just make sure there's no blockages, so. Road maintenance plan, do we wanna schedule a work session with Mark and include Victor to discuss the future of our maintenance plan and where the board would like to see the plan go? One of the things.
Yes.
Yeah, cause we've done that was one of our priorities, so,
I was gonna talk about that, I'm gonna talk about that as well on select items.
do you wanna schedule it while Sean's here? Which means we would.
You know what, I don't think you have to,
Okay.
and I'll talk about that under select.
Okay.
items. I have a plan and an option and a service to offer for free, but
Well, so that's my next point.
because I think it's important to get a handle on that, so.
Okay, so we'll skip that. We might skip the next one on my list. It's trees in the square. Are you talking about that under select board items?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll skip that one. The Minot Sleeper Library, new programming, they would announce they have new programming coming up in the spring for children and adults, so stay tuned and check out their website. Police Department, this is one of the ones I wanna close the loop on. The Wellington boat ramp. I never closed the loop on the concerns that had been raised during the summer. The final update, issues were not as major as they originally thought, but part of that is probably because of the weather conditions. There were a couple of altercations over people holding parking spaces or parking spots for others instead of waiting in line, and they would set up chairs and refuse to move. So, do we think, depends on the weather this year, it could continue to be the ongoing saga, but for this past year, it wasn't as bad as we thought it would be, so. Town clerk tax collector's office, I have nothing new to report right now. Water sewer department, Baton Road update, Jeff has spoken with Mr., I don't think that's his name.
Maggio?
Yeah, I don't think it is.
I think it is.
Is it?
I think.
Is it DiMaggio or Maggio?
Maybe, no, it's Maggio.
Okay, so Jeff has spoken to him, on February 7th. They agreed to the 3rd week of April to work on the testing and review as we previously discussed. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that was scheduling. Salt restrictions came up from Conservation Commission. And I just wanted to put that out there to this board. Jeff confirmed there are no adopted salt restriction areas, but he would be interested in the town doing this. And, so is this Jeff Chartier?
Oh, for the sake of the water supply.
Yeah, he said so is this something we'd be interested in looking into over this year, and bringing back to the board? or Conservation Commission, or both.
If we're protecting a well in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, and we just get rid of salt altogether and save a lot of money.
That would be slick.
Don't forget the one other item.
It would be slick.
Oh, did you?
See what happens when you're on that intro?
That's what I'm saying, don't forget the EDC item.
Oh, yeah, I'm not done yet.
Okay.
I do have, something that's not on my report, he was reminding me to tell you, but, under town events, community power presentation, overview and discussion is at the Minot Sleeper Library on February 20th. It is at 6:30 PM. I have no other events to add there.
6:30?
6:30 PM on February 20th.
That's 6.
I've posted it on the website. I'm going to probably post it, as a news item.
I had some interesting conversations about that today, as a matter of fact.
Oh, crap, I gotta figure out where I'm going to. All right, let me go back to Sean. Communications, there are no letters. You have newsletters in your packets from New Hampshire Department of Energy. Under other, I will be, Breezeline has submitted notification that their prices are going up, effective March 1st. I'll post those as a news item for the public. The only thing we have with Breezeline is our media manager services here. So we're gonna see how much they're going up there, but, NLRA in your things under, TA, they reached out to us, apparently they've been fielding calls from concerned property owners and town residents about the frequent flooding occurring in the Shore Drive, Avery Krause Town Beach area.
Yeah?
They've,
Is that true?
so they, there are some behind the properties that have been happening. We went down and we've investigated because we've had smells again. There is erosion from the culverts coming out to the beach, and some of that erosion is pretty substantial some days, depending on the weather. So they, in your packets, and I can email this out because I didn't have time, they did a preliminary stormwater assessment, and they have provided their idea. I mean, they're starting to reach out to stakeholders, but what they've done is provide you a current understanding of the situation. So it's a 3-page document.
Okay.
I wanted to ask, I'm gonna be meeting with them tomorrow. I've given them 2 different times. They haven't confirmed yet. It's either 11 or 1. But I didn't know if there was any board member that would be interested in sitting in on that.
So this is not flooding of the town road. This is behind the cottages where the water pools up.
And the erosion,
Sands Road there.
and the erosion, I think, on the beach from where it comes out of the culvert.
Yeah, but that's,
I would like to read that.
So I'll email that to you. Actually, I can probably do that right now. But I will email it to everyone.
Well, the other issue is where it's coming down from the church parking lot.
okay, so again, it's about words. Existing condition, between New Hampshire Route 3A and Shore Drive sees regular flooding following large storms and has flooded at least 4 times in 2023. Somebody might say, oh my gosh, you can't drive down the end of the lake, which is not accurate.
It's puddling water.
Well, so to me, it sounds worse than I've seen it.
Yes.
I know it's aggravating for the people who are experiencing where it is, or am I seeing it wrong?
I guess the way my immediate viewpoint on it came from the NLRA, so how's it affecting the lake?
Yes.
So, but I also look at that as that area of the lake gets flushed out immediately and becomes Massachusetts problem.
It's not,
eventually.
the way it reads, it sounds like the road is flooded. regularly and you can't
The
drive
side-
down it, which is not accurate.
No, the sides of the road, there's one of these storms, the sides of the road, and it did flow into the road a little, but not so that you can't drive on it.
Right.
The sides of the road, coming from the back of the cottages and out, were, because we had to send Joanne out for something. We had gotten, there was a post, and I had to investigate it, that there was septic. And there was no evidence.
I know, we've had this
so,
conversation
yeah.
how many times this summer?
I know.
It's definitely created Beecher Road in the Avery Krause, but
Well, that culvert comes out from, I think that comes down off of North Main Street, it crosses out and over, and the culvert's
Well,
gonna
it
come
would-
out.
yeah, you would think DOT would be a partner in this conversation, right?
The culvert goes under their road.
Some of it's DOT. Sean, you probably know more about this drainage there, but it's DOT is gonna be part of this conversation. But anyway, we can start.
I would think so, yeah.
So I haven't confirmed a time yet. I've offered them those 2 times tomorrow to meet, but I don't know if anybody's available or not, so.
And again, I'm sorry, I'll say this on the camera. When you read reports, the wording can be misleading. Maybe it's not. If you go to the 3rd page, environmental impact. Stormwater runoff picks up pollutants as it interacts with developed areas, which is accurate. And the link between increased development and declining water is well documented. That is true. If you read this, you would translate that to say that this issue is causing declining water quality in the lake, which is not what it says. Yes, the link between increased development and declining water quality is documented, but there's no evidence that that's happening at that spot. So we have to be really careful with this. I'm just throwing that out there.
Are you available tomorrow?
What time?
I've offered 11 and 1 to them.
You sure you want me to come?
so
You know how I get with this stuff.
I won't know until the morning but I've offered them those 2 times.
Possibly.
That drainage.
I just sent it by email too for you, Sean.
Thank you.
And to follow up on that, I was talking, Dick Batchelor and I, he's the chair of the Conservation Commission. We're about ready to start drafting the lake water quality report from the study committee that's been going on for the last year, which will address some of these topics. So that's actually pretty good timing.
So some,
That's the
Almost
erosion
done.
right there.
yeah.
We have confirmed, so we've confirmed a few things with regards to like the town meeting, elections and town meeting.
There's no absorption.
Sorry. Meet the Candidates event is scheduled for March 2nd. They'll be using the old town hall, historic town hall. It's at 1 p.m. Their flyers posted on the website. We also were making sure it was out on social media, but it is there.
So who are we meeting?
The candidates are here. So these are the town elections. Tuesday, March 12th, your election of officers, select board members, Don Milburn and Steve Kopel are running. Town moderator, Ned Gordon's running. Trustee of the trust funds, Betty Sealer. Supervisor of the checklist, Gail Sardo. Cemetery trustee, Richard LaFlamme. There is a second position no one's running for. Budget committee for 3 years, Janet Kavanaugh, and there is a second position no one's running for. Budget committee for 2 years, Daniel Kenny, and library trustees, Nancy Dowie, Suzanne Neiman, and Karen Boyd.
Nice.
I've added the proposed zoning amendments, explaining that for the ballot articles 2 through 8, and what the planning board does to prepare them. And then when you click on this, what we did was set up the document. So it talks the article, and because people get confused between the article and the amendment number, what the changes are underneath it, and then all through all of them. So if you wanted to look at those, you can. Town meeting, there's a gap because I was working on it and got distracted. So that's March 16th. Concession food, snacks and drinks, they will be provided as a fundraiser to support the freshman class. I'm working on getting the budget, the MS 737 and the warrant articles on, they will be here. Babysitting is being offered by the Newfound Regional High School National Honor Society, so if somebody wasn't gonna come because they needed daycare, the National Honor Society group is offering it.
Nice,
And that's posted on the website.
nice.
And then that's all that's up there so far, but it's good, we'll finish the rest of the information.
Nice job with it.
I'm gonna say this before I forget it. There was a comment made at the school meeting about having more microphones down front for the budget committee. I don't know if you were there, or you guys were
I was
there.
on it there.
Did we each have a mic at the table? I can't
No.
remember. We should have a number of microphones down there so people don't have to get up and go behind everybody.
So there usually are the two up in the audience, and then there's the one in the middle.
We should have three, I mean, they've got to have,
You just have to
20
be careful
wireless
about your
microphones.
conversations.
what's that?
Well, yeah, hot
You have to
mic.
be
Yeah,
careful
no, hot
about.
mics, they have to be off. You have to be able to turn them.
Or a wireless one that we could pass down.
Something like that, yes, that's safer.
Wireless one would be easy.
I'm gonna talk to Cade, because Cade's the one who helped set up the tech. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, one wireless mic would probably be easy.
Well, right, they're all wireless technically, but if we did a portable one, or you could just pass down the table, if that might be easier.
Instead of getting up and walking behind everybody's chair and making Ned move out of the way so you can stand at the podium.
But, okay, so, one thing that could happen, right, if you're passing that mic down and then someone's in line, Ned's gonna have to know if that person wants to speak, so they're not speaking over it. You know,
Right.
it'll take a little bit more, we should probably ask Ned right, because he's the
Yeah.
moderator, so.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to have, so yeah, check, that's
So
what
we should ask Ned if you would allow.
Give
that.
the extra mic to Ned and then
Yeah.
hand it to whoever.
He could walk it, yeah, right.
Because didn't somebody yell about that at the school
I'm sure,
deliberative session?
I heard there was a lot
I
of
don't know.
stuff, yeah.
Actually, it wasn't really that bad.
It wasn't, okay.
No, it was a fade to complete before it started.
Okay. We'll look into that for you.
Thank you.
Also, I'll get off of share for Sean. So this was just dropped off to me tonight. I haven't had time to read it, but I've been asked to read it in. The Penny Path group, can't wait until your next meeting because if we agree to pursue this funding application, it has to be in by March 1st.
What funding application?
I'll read this to you.
Thank you, sorry.
2025 community project funding requests are due on Sunday, March 1st. Community project funding allows local governments and qualified nonprofits to receive a one-time small to medium-sized allocation to complete projects of local importance and priority. All funds will be limited to state and local governments and nonprofits that carry out quasi-government functions. The House Leadership and Appropriation Committee has yet to release the guidance for community project funding fiscal year 2025. However, given the short timeline between the release of guidance and the deadlines for member submissions, Congress members Annie Custer and Chris Pappas want to provide the information you need to consider developing a project submission for their fiscal 2025 community project funding cycle. Under guidelines by the Appropriation Committee, each representative may request funding for up to 15 projects in their community for fiscal year 2025. Although only a handful may actually be funded, projects are restricted to a limited number of federal funding streams, and only state and local governments and eligible nonprofit entities are permitted to receive funding. For profit institutions such as private companies, they will not be eligible for funding. Additional information on the reforms government community project funding is in you have to click through. So Bill Dowie dropped this off at the beginning of the meeting. He said he called me late this afternoon, which I would have been either down here already potentially. So he would like the board to give them permission to pursue the funding. That application would have to come through my office. But my comment to him was, if you do all the footwork, I can't do any of it.
Right.
But I wanted to have you talk about it to determine if this is short notice. But he said that he just found out about it last Tuesday.
This goes to what Sean often talks about,
Yeah.
that it's once again, here we are, it's a last minute thing, we have one day to think about this.
And I don't even know what the stipulations are, if we have to come up with a portion of the money.
Right,
If this is congressional funding,
yeah,
then there are quite a few hoops, but to go through, but that wouldn't be until it gets awarded, so.
So I totally get what you're saying. But this is also in regards to a project that's already underway. So this isn't that, chasing a shiny object thing. I don't want to say, go ahead and pursue it, not knowing all the ins and outs of it. But I imagine if there's anything, anything further would have to be approved by us anyway.
Well, it has to be submitted before you meet. When we did the application for this with the CDS funding, which is the congressional directed spending, I had to submit it all. So Bill wrote it, but then I had to type it all into the actual submission, into the application, and we didn't get picked. But more than likely, this would have to be done, which means if it's due March 1st,
I guess the question would be, what are we
I'd have to do it that day.
what are we committing ourselves to?
I mean, I can do, that's the problem, I can do a little more research and send it out to you by email if I had any concerns with it. One time, I will throw out an example, there was a funding application that was that we as the board thought should go to the planning board, and when we further reviewed it, it required you hire someone. And so the planning board said no.
right.
So that got thrown out because of that, but I don't think this will require you to hire someone, but.
Well,
Did Bill
I
have?
don't have a problem with going after the funds. As Rob mentioned, it is a project that we're keenly interested in. I guess I would be willing to say yes to that tonight. But, I mean, worst case scenario, we could have a quick special meeting if we decide we didn't want to support it.
So we can get more information.
Once we know, because we don't even know the numbers at this point, he's really asking for it. Right, so what, we can say, yeah, go ahead, but in the end, if it's you that's doing it, you can communicate with us, and if we have to have a 5-minute meeting to say no, then I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, it's
And I think that's a fair, given the track record and given dropping this on us at the very last minute, I think that's a fair compromise.
and going back to the conversation we had earlier about policies being put into documents that we don't know about.
Yep, right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a high priority project.
Yeah.
We've got 2 Thursdays between now and then that, I certainly wouldn't mind coming down for 10 or 15 minutes to
Just one more thing.
take action on that. What's that?
Just one more
Sorry,
thing.
I know, but
I didn't say that yet, I'm not finished, but go ahead.
I saw it at the end of your
I
document.
know, I put that in the TA report for you. I just opened an email too from the Army Corps. They would like, they asked if I was available for a call, I was not today. So I did just email them back and ask them if they're available tomorrow. They have been discussing our path forward and they think they have some options for us. Instead of leasing the land to the town, we can enter into a partnership which will alleviate some of the requirements we've placed on the town. This is the first time I've seen this email, so I will reach out to her and try and find out what that means, so.
Ooh.
That's
It
exciting.
means someone finally pulled a string.
Yeah.
They probably got sick of dealing with us.
Well,
The only other
So-
thing, go ahead, sorry.
So then, okay, so we're not gonna vote on that tonight, but we're going to say that you can start putting it together and we'll know the numbers and we'll vote on it next week if, or the 29th.
Yep.
The
Or,
29th,
or any other day, whatever works.
I will be at JP on the 29th, but I could probably chime in via Zoom.
Okay.
next week, legislature's definitely gonna be late.
Well, I mean, we could, if it's just a 5-minute meeting, we can do it any, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we
Yeah.
can do it any.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could even do it. It's a-
Yeah,
Yeah, because the later in the day, the more likely it is I can make it.
yes, yeah.
The last thing that I think I have, I just wanted to, we did approve the hiring of Bill Corliss. He will be a transfer station attendant at 27 hours a week, and he should start with depending on his schedule, on January 26th.
Excellent.
If you do check your TA report, it does say other, nothing. Oh, wait a minute.
When is it started?
January 26th. We decided to wait until the next payroll starts.
February 26th.
Oops.
That too.
Yeah, I probably should change this.
God, somebody's paying attention
God,
here.
3 people have looked at that
I
and
did
signed
that
it, and
in
none
an
of us
email.
saw that.
I did that just last week. It was February 23rd, and then I wrote January 23rd.
Uh-huh. All right,
Okay.
9
Phew,
o'clock.
sorry. That was a lot.
That last hour went quick. I thought we were getting out of here early. My agenda closed. I think we're
Oh, I can
at select
share.
board member items.
Yep.
Well, Sean, you can go first since you're not sitting in the chair tonight.
Okay, thank you. I had a meeting with APC this week. Normal meeting, but also a presentation of our warrant articles to them for input regarding the purchase of parsonage and tearing that down. They were sort of as we expected, not receptive to that, and felt that 2 things, that the building actually visually slows people down, and then if you took it down, they'd be more apt to speed
Oh,
through that area. I'm just relaying comments, by the way. And secondly, that actually there was a pretty strong case for, might be more supportive if, we had a better plan for trees and landscaping. And I had reiterated our desire to make it as cheap as possible to get approved. And, an interesting comment about, well, that's all well and good, but it would be better, if you're gonna do it, it would be better if you did it all the way, as it is in our downtown area.
Well,
Which I get, but
maybe they're not
Yeah,
looking at the rest. They
is
don't
enough
look at the big picture.
Wait,
You can do
can't hear
anything with
you.
enough time and money.
right.
Were they aware of the budget that we're proposing? The rest of the budget?
Yes. Yeah, we sure.
Yes,
Oh,
And they still want to go do it all gung ho at once? Well, they can amend it. They can put that amendment forward.
and I did mention that.
Okay,
Um,
all right.
Who was the meeting with?
that,
Historic
Easy.
district.
Oh,
Historic.
historic.
Yeah.
HDC.
yeah,
Where'd he go?
Oops.
Snowstorm,
and
snowstorm.
There he is.
so that was it. They don't have an official position, to weigh in or to vote on it. But I imagine we'll get a couple of comments at during the conversation at town meeting.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question on that, Sean?
Yep,
One of the
Yeah,
comments that
senior
came
center.
out of it was to ask for a walkthrough of the building.
yes.
Is that something we would like to pursue now or do that before town meeting? Or is that something we would schedule as whenever we could with them?
Let's do it
Who,
before.
who would do it?
A
Like,
walkthrough of
just the
park?
select board, or?
Yeah, the comment, it came up that we hadn't been in the building at all to see it. So would we want to schedule a walkthrough of the building?
Have they moved out?
I think she said next
The
Tuesday.
end of this month.
The intention is to tear it down, what are we gonna walk through it for?
In case you wanna
So
keep
some
it.
of the implications was whether there are, we haven't seen it for ourselves to know if there are any historical aspects to it at all. We're just taking the comments that have been made by other individuals, and whether you wanna put your eyes on it
Yes,
at all, so.
I think we should. I think we should.
Probably go some.
It's also worth noting that one of the members of the, I don't even know what they call it, but the board of the church was at the meeting and expressed the fact that even if the vote did not go through, they still hold the option of removing the building themselves, and felt that it met many of the criteria outlined in the Historic District Commission's approval for doing such.
I wrote down a lot of notes too, because, from that comments, because there were things, obviously, it's been altered many times.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the safety issue, we did talk about obstruction of view when you're trying to get out of the parking area or so. And it was discussed that it is not on the historical register. The downtown, it is not. So the historic district itself, the district is on the historical register,
okay.
but not the individual. There are only a couple of individual buildings and that is not on it, so.
An associated comment regarding, the building and trees, also talked about the other trees that were removed, and why were they removed, and who made the decision, and of course I mentioned the fact of the emerald ash borer, and they're all infested and dead, and dying, and were a safety hazard. The desire, their spoken desire is to have a pretty good plan to what goes in there next, and I think Christina had, was gonna have some comments on that, and I think it behooves us to have that conversation because, we could spend a few dollars on some seedlings that might take 30 years to get to a point where they're even anything, or do you spend, $3,000 to $5,000 per tree to have something more substantial planted there, and do we need to? Their clear answer was yes, but, it's something that the board is gonna have to, I think, take on it in the spring.
Yeah, I put the comment, to discuss the time frame for when we should talk about the plan, and also if we would grant us permission to work with Sean. I put Sean down on this for recommendation on the purchase. And so if we move forward with, a plan and we decide we want to replace them, or do.
Did I agree to that?
What?
Did I know about that?
You did say to contact you when we were ready to replace a tree in front of,
Okay,
yeah.
all right,
But I just threw these in too.
yeah.
But, we wanted, Sean, I do have notes about what you told us to purchase, but I think, if Sean would be willing and the board would agree, I think it would be beneficial to have Sean's input on what we put back there. And then whether we have to put back all of those trees that we cut down, or whether we put back a smaller number, or what we do. So,
What could you put in there, Sean?
Well, you have a lot of options. It depends on what you want. Do you want something that's gonna fill the space quickly, or do you want something that's going to be a stately tree over time? If you want something that's gonna fill the space quickly, there are all kinds of options on that. Some fast growing trees, but they're also short-lived. so not likely to be there in 100 years. You know, my feeling is you put in a long-lived tree, you put in 2 or 3 of the oldest trees that you can suck up on, and go that way, rather than 3 or 4 or 5 little saplings that are gonna struggle for 20, 25 years to even become a canopy tree. That's my opinion on it, but in those 2 choices, there's a lot of different options. Yeah.
So, Sean, do you have an estimate of how old those trees were that we cut, or that were cut down?
I don't, you see them in some of the old pictures. I don't think they were, they weren't particularly that old. They're open grown, so they grow really fast. They grow larger sooner. I feel like they probably existed after the elms died off. So it's certainly less than 100. I think around 100 or so, maybe a little bit older, but not a lot.
Yeah.
Are those the original trees?
Those are, I think, here, I don't know. Remember the picture they showed of the parsonage? The trees were in there. I don't remember what year that picture was, though.
Those are more
That was
trees
like
than what we recently had.
1890 or 19. I don't think those were. Maybe they could be, but if they were big trees, they wouldn't have been. I don't remember the picture exactly. But
Yeah, actually, there's a couple of pretty good sized trees.
those are probably elms back in the day. That whole
Yeah.
whole downtown was loaded with big old elm trees that died off in the blight.
Okay.
Little off topic, but what about a permanent tree where the Christmas tree was?
So funny you
nice.
should say that, because I think they're leaning towards that now where they weren't for years.
Who, the historic district?
The group that does the tree. So they just had a meeting Monday. They don't meet again until March, but maybe we could bring it up with them again.
Yeah, because it might be a good project to tie in together.
What group does the tree?
Community
decorating.
events, but the 2 people that mainly seek it out are Hilda and Lucille.
Okay, and why do they get to decide
Well,
what trees get planted in Bristol?
they
the
don't
two
get
of
to decide, but they
Okay.
weigh heavily on the
Okay.
recommendations. So.
Just making sure I understand what's
Yes.
going on.
In the past, they adamantly were against the tree. And we've weighed their recommendation pretty heavily, over the years. So I do think my opinion is we should have a permanent tree. We don't have
We used to.
We don't have to plant it, we don't have to do anything else, but
There was I think it was a spruce that was.
And why, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Why
Sean?
would we be against it though?
Got more?
Not on that, no. If you're on to the next subject,
Yep.
Christina mentioned having the road supervisors in. And this is something I've been giving a lot of thought to, and I had expressed some opinions to the budget committee chair, and Christina and I have had several conversations about patching and overlaying our roads versus actually fixing our roads, especially if we're gonna have more frequent, high water events. And some of this I don't even know the question to, so I would be happy to meet, whether it's before or after I finish up, with Mark and Victor. Do we have a detailed inventory of our roads? Do we have GPS location of culverts? If we don't, then I think the first step is to do that, and I would be willing to donate quite a lot of my time in doing that for the town. I'm not an engineer, but that obviously. But I've built a lot of truck roads, and I know how to size the culvert, and I know how to do that based on the acreage of the watershed. And, you know, it would be good to know where we're deficient. I probably can't put a number on what those repairs cost, because I don't deal with municipal work most you know, limited interest from. And you know, whether we had a little subcommittee of the I would think it should be, and I don't want them to work more hours, that's not what I'm saying, but certainly myself and those two individuals and maybe one or two other people who could meet quarterly. And in the interim, gather a lot of information on where our roads are deficient and what they need for improvement versus just regrading the same ditch line and putting another couple inches of pavement over, you know, an underlying problem that hasn't been fixed. So I want to bring that to the board.
Just to add, they have done road surveys through LRPC, but they're probably old. I don't think that, I'd have to double check on the GPS and the culvert, but the program that we have with the mapping has the ability through staff logon for them to document what type of road, where the culvert is, plug it all in and put information about the culvert, and that was.
But we haven't done that.
No, and that's where we were supposed to be
Yeah.
going with it, so,
I would be interested in working on that from a board perspective.
Yeah, you could have Mark and Victor, the board rep, myself, and maybe one other person, to go out and collect some data. But they just go road by road and mile by mile. It's not a thing that's gonna be, you know, a 3-month project, but at least you have the information. So that's what I wanted to propose there. I don't need an answer now, but I am offering that I would be willing to help with that extensively.
That's good.
He's got some free time now to do this.
not if we get it as a write-in candidate, no.
Budget committee?
No. If elected, I will not serve.
Write-ins don't count anyway.
Which,
Anything
Your
else?
first one does, I think, but so the first person who was write-in declined. I think you couldn't just go down the line.
Right.
I think that's what happened this
Like
past.
when I got on budget committee, I was the first one and I accepted it. so.
Right. But this last time, the first one declined it,
Oh,
and they thought they could go down the line, and they can't do that, but I can confirm that, but.
I'm still gonna write you.
I think that sounds good.
so that's what I had for items.
Okay, Scott?
We had a planning board meeting last night. It was pretty brief. We just had one case, some neighbors being good neighbors to each other up on 10 Mile Brook Road. And they did a lot line adjustment to kind of more or less housekeeping, cleaning up some paperwork and making access, for future access, clean access.
Nice.
So, and then as far as planning board goes,
I didn't listen.
yeah,
I did,
no,
but
I know.
every time I heard my name,
Yeah.
I was like, what? Okay,
No,
sure.
it was pretty, we were going pretty smooth. We had a couple little issues. Dave we had one absentee, but we had Steve filling in, so he was seated in. But it was pretty brief and nothing major. And then as far as select board, myself, it's just funny that one ditch that was sunken in and regraded by the homeowner after they dug up the street on North Main Street it's sinking again.
Yeah.
So it's just I don't know what's going on there. It's weird. And that was even before the cold set in, so I don't think it's necessarily frost driven. But other than that, just that car parked in the road was taken care of, alleviating any possible accident. I mean, if we would have had a snowstorm, that would have been, could have been hazardous either way. But other than that was it. And then everything I've talked to, everybody I've talked to as far as the warrant with the parking, everybody I've talked to has been on board with it. And so hopefully there will be downtown business owners that are, hopefully they're local residents
Yeah.
also, that will show up and voice in support of the warrant. Because it is important to them, they feel, so.
If you are okay to, just made me think of it when you were talking. Do you, when we add the warrant to this page, would we add the proposed, add a section about the proposed project as well with the plan and the estimate? Or just the plan?
We can maybe give some background as to why we're only doing this much. Would that help? I'd maybe help, saying the board considered the project as a whole, but thought it was best. Why are we just doing a bare bones minimum? A little brief, 1-2 sentences.
With some bullet points about why we think it's a positive.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe some bullets would, that would work.
One of the other comments that came up on that was, sorry, Scott.
No,
I just
it's all good.
thought about it. Was, we're tearing down potentially available housing, which I thought was interesting. And comment about, trying to find some public-private partnership to get both some of the parking and still have units available for people to rent. I personally think that building, is a tear down from day one, but that was my other comment was made during the meeting.
Not funny, Carol Brown.
I think that was it that I had.
I can't remember anything else from last night.
It was
They
pretty-
did talk about, I did forget to tell you one thing about the all committees. They did talk about the all committees a little and their take, they were trying to come up with communication ideas, and Rick and I are still supposed to get together to talk about, he has some ideas. I have started an idea on the select board page of hidden the page so that it's not out there yet. But I can share. I mentioned it to Rick and he thought this was a good idea. There was a communication, one of the things that came up was about how you communicate between the committees. And people talked about doing having emails, and then the concern was that there would be meetings between all the committees, between board members, and so I started by putting the public safety building committee here, but I think I have a page hidden right now, and it's all committees, and I thought about putting a blurb what the all committees, the intent of it was, maybe put the minutes up there. And then that could be the location that each of the chairs shares their public document, or their public information and then it puts it back on the committees to go to that page and look for that information.
That's a good idea.
So-
They know what each other's doing too.
They put it out, maybe they put out that they put it out once a year or every quarter.
Annually, yeah.
Something like that. And then we can also share the information that comes out of the all committees meeting on that page as well. So it's not on there yet because it is hidden, but I did want to make sure that's before I did much more work on it. I'll share it with you at the next meeting. Well, I'll share either that or I'll share it with you when we talk about the other stuff about all committees. So.
Did, Scott?
I think that's it.
We had the Public Safety Building Committee meeting last week, which we went over everything when Ben was here, basically, so.
Yeah.
Glad he was here, so I didn't have to try and explain that all myself. And that's about all I got for now.
Okay, I showed some of you, a resident came up to me at the election and handed me a card that came from land use.
Is that one of the ones I just showed you?
No, it was sent out from land use to veterans,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
like a thank you card.
yep.
Yes.
And that person said, why did we spend money doing that? And I talked to Sean, and I'm just putting it out
We
there.
did share that with you
Yeah.
this past year, that they
Yeah.
were doing that on new applications.
Yeah, and I think it's a pittance compared to, I don't know how much that costs you to send those out. I'm letting you know.
Okay,
We could talk about it more before you do it again, maybe. Speaking of the Historic District Commission, and the fact that people didn't know the town office was closed is strange. Why can't we have a digital sign out here?
because
They don't have to be annoying and crazy. They can be, scrolling digital signs that said town office closed Wednesday.
Can you do it somewhere else?
You could do it by the new fire station, the public
Oh,
safety.
you want a big
That-
portable unit?
No.
It can just be a regular, this signs that have, they're smaller,
Yeah.
they have scrolling words. But I can hear the words of this town violating their own
Yeah,
rules
that's-
from
that's
HDC's meeting.
It's not
Yeah.
zoning any electrical,
Oh, yeah, zoning too.
Somewhere, I believe somewhere we should do, a lot of towns have this, and it's really good.
We have,
People
so,
drive by, they see it from their car, town office closed tomorrow. They don't have to go to the website.
well,
It's
yeah.
such a simple
so
thing.
we are exempt from our rules, but the problem that you have with that is do as I say, not as I, not, you know what I mean?
Okay, I get that. Let's find a way to do it.
What if
That's
we,
what I'm saying.
I mean, possibly the public safety building? That's out,
It's
Still in?
zoning restricts.
no, but is that
moving.
still in the historic district?
No,
No.
absent of historic district is a whole other issue.
Right.
But your zoning rules do not allow for those type of signs.
Yeah.
Period. Historic district is a lot more strict about that, but your zoning, no moving parts, no periodically changing,
flashing.
flashing electronic
It's all in.
signs.
What kind of town do we live in here? All right, well,
However,
can we,
it could be something that's changed in the future.
You
but-
could put a warrant together in next year.
maybe I will, just for that. Maybe I just will.
Petition zoning amendments have to be in earlier. I'd be happy to share that date with you. It's November, or I think, or December. You have to have it by.
It was such a simple thing. All right, well, let's try this one.
But I do agree with you that
Messaging, it's
messaging is huge when people drive by and see town office closed.
How
Yes.
about out by the town line? No, the streetways.
The high school.
Let's put it on a thing to talk about down the road.
Let's hire a person to put it on the back of a truck, or just drive around town.
A box, we could buy a box truck and just park it on the side of the road.
Like they do in Vegas with the sign going down the
We
strip.
saw, there was a truck in Concord, John Sellers and I saw it, it was some group opposing a law. It was like a 12-foot box truck, and all three sides was a digital sign. It was really neat.
Did it say sand for sale?
No, it didn't. Okay, so.
Why not a plane with a,
Well, there you go.
Banner.
There's been a plane flying around here. All right, we digress.
I'm sorry. It's getting late.
Seeing the beach comment reminded me, here we go again. We need to make a handicapped access a couple at the foot of the lake. And we don't need to redesign the beach, we don't need to build a stormwater retention basin. We just need to make a couple of spots where people can walk to the beach where there's no rocks.
We're moving.
How do we do this?
We're moving the handicap parking spaces because they didn't get done, so that is on the list to be done this year. They've already picked the location. We can look with those spots and see how it would have to be done, where they're putting them.
So we'll have to get a hold of DES and get it moving on that,
Well,
right?
But what we'll do is see where the spots are. I think they picked handicap parking spaces that were more, you didn't have to climb over
Yeah,
rocks
okay.
like you do now. But I can ask them about it and we'll make sure.
Oh,
Perfect.
yeah,
Thank you.
some of the first ones right here, because there's no curb or
Yeah.
rocks up here.
Yeah, I do believe they are closer to the first beginning where there's
I'm looking at it right now.
an easier access to the beach.
Yeah, okay, awesome, thank
You
you.
could do the first 3 or 4 spots right after where
Yeah.
beach attendant parks.
Well, you'll have to get on that to get the permitting.
Well,
Yes,
no, you
that's
wouldn't
right.
have to do anything because there's no curb or anything.
Well, I'll get back to you for your next meeting and let
There's
you
no,
know.
unless would you have to put some
I mean, if we're
firm
gonna,
surface, but
I'm not even talking about a railing, but we could get that involved, but I wasn't even thinking
but
a railing maybe, but we have to at least make it,
They were talking.
it's so
there-
gradual there.
There are mats too that they've talked
Yeah,
about getting
yeah,
in the past
yeah.
to put down. They're very expensive, but it's something that we can look into.
I guess, let's talk about it. Anyway, thank you. Something that we do at the House of Representatives is every time we have a session, someone sings the national anthem. Have you ever done that at town meeting? And they have high school kids come in.
I'm not
So-
singing it. No, kidding.
So they at the girls' senior game, girls basketball varsity senior game this last week. One of their she's a student, but she is I think the team manager. She played her violin,
Yeah.
and I tell you what, I'm surprised that it's
Very
not
nice.
on Facebook.
Yeah.
No, it
So,
was
Dan McLean's kid did the
no. Oh,
national anthem for
Well, Dan-
opening day.
yeah. He did it with the guitar,
Yeah.
but this violin, she was spot on, and it was phenomenal. So we could reach out and ask if she would do it.
I don't know if you think it'd be something, it'd be nice, I think, for town meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, no?
Yeah,
I think it's fine,
we can.
but can you do it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Scott's good, but then,
Okay.
once you know if they can do it, then we can run it by Ned, but I don't think he'll have a problem with that.
Last thing was, there was a bill proposed, brought through the House to create a $5 million emergency fund similar to FEMA, where the state can help towns repair roads and bridges immediately, and it would be a loan, it would be a payback. And you could wait for your FEMA money to come in, but that you could take care of problems. And then there was a lot of, right away, then there was a lot of conversation about that number, and then it got cut down, and a town could get up to $100,000 immediately in one chunk. And it ended up going to interim study, which means it's out a year at least, but it's on the table anyway. I think it's a pretty good idea myself.
Its own fund. Yeah.
What's that?
It's creating its own fund, and
Yeah, it's supposed to, the idea was it would be a $5 million fund that you would get loans from. So, anyway, that's all I got. Anybody else? The public is not here, so,
Sean, don't go offline yet. I have a question for you offline. When we're not on.
You better hurry, because I'm fading fast.
Okay.
all right,
when we're
motion,
off- Go ahead.
Motion adjourned.
thank you. Second,
second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.